Apocalypse. I can steal superpowers. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351, Causal Cycle. So, Lee Zaraon attacked Anujin. Luo heard Su Qinghen's story, and for some reason, he suddenly felt a little irritated. He was sure that he had no impression of Anujin. Luo had no memory before the age of 14. His memories all started from the day he awakened his original talent. Before that, he only got fragments from other people's mouths. From my memory, Anujin didn't seem to be dead. I heard that she is still alive. Anujin is indeed not dead, but that has nothing to do with Lee Zaraon. What Lee Zaraon experienced was probably the cycle of cause and effect, and the law of nature is clear. Su Qinghen coughed twice, pulled the cup next to him over, covered himself with it, and then continued to repeat the past that Jiang and Yu told her. Jiang and Yu told me that at that time, Lee Zaraon had been obsessed with fame and fortune. She knew that Anujin's parents would not allow her to study Anujin. So, she approached Anujin under the guise of treatment, while constantly conducting research and experiments on her. In order to ensure that Anujin looked healthy, she even used various drugs. You know, that year, Anujin was only 10 or 11 years old. She didn't know anything, but just accepted Jiang and Yu's treatment in a daze. She took a lot of medicine, did a lot of tests, and stayed in Lee Zaraon's small hospital for more time than at home. Su Qinghen's voice was already a little tearful when she said this. She might not be so-called distressed, but she really felt the same way. After all, the 32 children adopted by Lee Zaraon later lived a much worse life than Anujin did back then. Lee Zaraon, damn it. Luo was not a saintly person, but he always felt that people who did their dirty deeds under such deception and concealment were worse than beasts. The parents gave their child to you in the hope that you could cure her. All parents in the world have a heart of their own. You use the child for experiments for your own fame and fortune, for the so-called scientific development. Disgusting, disgusting, indescribable disgust. She really deserves to die. The retribution came so quickly that Lee Zaraon didn't even react. Qinghen, you mean? Lee Zaraon was infected and also suffered from the same disease as Anujin? Luo now remembered the previous information. The reason for Lee Zaraon's final death was an incurable disease. As a genius in biology, she died in a disease she studied. How ridiculous it is. It is indeed a cycle of cause and effect, and the law of nature is clear. Lee Zaraon, whether she was infected by Anujin, cannot be confirmed, but she did suffer from that terminal illness back then. That kind of terminal illness that she had no way to cure herself. At this time, Su Qinghen showed a somewhat happy smile. Of course, she couldn't have no feelings for her adoptive mother, but it was precisely because of her feelings that she would be so heartbroken after being hurt. Jiang and Yu described that Lee Zaraon looked ridiculous at the time. She had been experimenting with Anujin and behaved elegantly and calmly, but when she found out that she had the same disease, her ugly face was exposed. At that time, in order to find a cure, Lee Zaraon fled Changlin City like crazy and ran to Zhaojing City to find her teacher and all the doctors she knew, asking for their help. She obviously liked to explore the truth alone, but in the face of death, she asked for help from others. It's just, unfortunately, the disease that Lee Zaraon and Anujin suffered from was indeed a terminal illness. No one could save her, and no one could help her. So, she was alone again, and embarked on a crazy path. She adopted 32 children, and settled down in a remote place. It looked like a paradise, but in fact it was a plan that the world said was not allowed. Su Qinghen seemed to finally be unable to hold back. She raised her hand to cover her eyes, tears flowing down her fingers. Luo reached out and handed her a tissue. Su Qinghen wiped her tears vigorously, but she couldn't wipe them away. Lee Zaraon's death was deserved. She shouldn't be allowed to continue living. But Tang Ziujian wanted to defy life and death. He must die. Luo leaned his head against the wall, sorting out the information he had just received in his head. He really felt a little overwhelmed. It turned out that the reason why Lee Zaraon adopted Su Qinghan and the others was still a Nugent. Her arrogance and madness made her punished, and she eventually died under this punishment. Luo could almost imagine how glorious and unruly Lee Zaraon, a genius in biology, was. She felt that she had mastered the knowledge of biology and even lost her awe of life. She used knowledge as a throne to build her own high and mighty, and regarded a Nugent's life as the firewood for her to become a god. It was simply unreasonable. Qinghan, it's all over. It's all over. Lee Zaraon is dead, and Tang Zijian will die as well. Maybe. Su Qinghan wiped away her tears and finally smiled again, but the girl's eyes were red, looking pitiful and cute. By the way, Luo, Jiang and Yu said that the reason why Lee Zaraon suffered from the same disease as a Nugent was not because of infection, but because of a person, a childhood sweetheart who always liked to hang around with a Nugent. A Nugent's childhood sweetheart? Luo's eyes were dazed for a while, and he thought about it carefully. From what he heard from other places, it seemed that he was the only person who could be called a Nugent's childhood sweetheart. Qinghan, someone of the same age as a Nugent, should have been only 10 or 11 years old at the time. How powerful could he be? That's true. But, what if that child awakened the original talent at that time? Su Qinghan also wanted to ask about this matter at that time, but Jiang and Yu was talking about other things at the time, and didn't give her the opportunity to ask at all. In the end, the information she got was very fragmented. Luo, do you think it is possible that at that time, a Nugent's childhood sweetheart, that little boy, had become an evolver, and he discovered what Lee Zaraon had done, and then, in order to avenge Lee Zaraon, he used his original talent to copy a Nugent's illness onto Lee Zaraon, allowing her to die in despair and regret, in great pain? Well, this kind of cause and effect cycle, this way of justice is obvious, is really good. Luo nodded, his smile was forced. Although he had not heard Jiang and Yu's story, after listening to all the mess, why did Luo feel that this was the case? In this way, everything makes sense. Luo, if this is the case, everything makes sense. Chapter 352, Privacy and Concealment. What did you say? Luo felt a little itchy on his back. He squirmed like a maggot, and scratched his back with his hand. The expression on his face was very subtle. If this is true, then the reason why Nugent didn't die can be explained. That childhood sweetheart of a Nugent may have awakened a very powerful original talent. He not only avenged Lee Zaraon, but also cured a Nugent. Su Qinghan seemed to have grasped the key point of the matter. She became more and more excited as she spoke, and even twisted the quilt on her body into a big ball. Well, it is indeed possible, but a Nugent's matter has no effect on us now. Luo pretended to be clueless, but in fact he was already sweating coldly. Luo himself didn't know his past. If Su Qinghan really investigated and found out something wrong, then his girlfriend who just got him would be gone. That's right. Su Qinghan was poured a whole basin of cold water by Luo, and his excitement just now calmed down. Indeed, what happened to a Nugent, and how Lee Zaraon died, had no impact on them now. Exploring those meaningless past events was just a waste of time. Su Qinghan, are you hungry? Let's go out for dinner. Now? Su Qinghan looked at Luo, who suddenly became excited, but she didn't doubt that he was anxious to change the subject. The girl was not hungry now, but she wanted to go out for a walk. Where are we going to eat? Let's go out for a walk. It's a rare opportunity. Luo reached out and pulled the newly bought laptop in front of him. He roughly searched for food and street scenes near the hotel. Su Qinghan was a little hesitant at first, but under Luo's encouragement, she agreed with his idea. Then let's go. Luo didn't waste time. He got out of bed in his slippers and prepared to go to the outer room to change clothes. Su Qinghan looked at his hurried back and smiled helplessly. He thought he was just having a childish temper and wanted to run out to play for a while. I can't imagine that I will have such a day. Su Qinghan sat on the bed, looking at the bright sky outside, and the expression on her face suddenly dimmed. She once thought that her end in this world would be to die in the form of ashes. Only this kind of unpleasant death can be enough to pay for the sins she committed, and those who were in her hands can rest in peace. But now, she actually has someone who makes her heart beat. He stands by her and proves his sincerity to her with everything he has. If you really count Soo-kyung-hun's feelings for Gluo, of course there is love, but this is definitely not the main reason for her to respond to him, nor will it be an important condition for accepting him. She just hopes that in the next few years, decades later, the memories he has about her can be beautiful and gentle, and he will not blame him. Soo-kyung-hun likes, feels guilty, and is grateful to Gluo. She does not ask for any good results. She just wants to give him and his encounter with him a warm ending. Gluo, I really wish I could meet you earlier. Soo-kyung-hun reached out and picked up the water cup that had just arrived on the table, but before she could drink it, the coldness of her palm had instantly turned the water in the cup into solid ice. What was even more terrifying was that the extremely low temperature caused the texture of the glass cup to change. Cracks spread across the cup body, and it broke with a snap, and the whole piece of ice fell to the ground. Soo-kyung-hun's body trembled, and he exhaled a long breath. The frosty cold air was visible in the air. The temperature of the whole room even dropped by nearly 20 degrees, because of this breath of cold air. Gluo, I'm sorry, I have no choice. Soo-kyung-hun slowly suppressed the restless coldness in her body. Because of her emotional ups and downs, the winter poem that resonated with her also calmed down again and returned to tranquility. But fortunately, I still have a little time and can walk with him again. Soo-kyung-hun slowly got off the bed, swept up the broken cup and ice, and put them in the trash can in the bathroom. Afterwards, Soo-kyung-hun opened the doors and windows of the room to let the cold air in the room dissipate as soon as possible, so as to avoid being discovered by Gluo. After finishing all this, Soo-kyung-hun put on his coat and walked towards the living room of the suite. Gluo, what are you doing? Oh, writing a note, in case Chu-yun and the others wake up and don't know what's going on. Gluo's handwriting was a bit ugly. Soo-kyung-hun looked over and was so nervous that he was crippled and his handwriting was even uglier. But fortunately, Soo-kyung-hun didn't laugh at him. Gluo finished the message with difficulty and put it in Chu-yun's palm. Gluo, can they understand this letter you wrote? They are Japanese, right? You wrote in Chinese. Can they understand it? They can chat with me normally. They should know multiple languages. No problem. Gluo didn't know whether the Chu-yun sisters could understand it. Anyway, he wrote it, and there was nothing he could do if they couldn't understand it. HMPH Soo-kyung-hun looked at Gluo's scratching expression and smiled, but she didn't just laugh at Gluo's joke. Instead, she took out a mobile phone and put it next to the Izumo sisters and put a note on the mobile phone with Gluo's phone number. That should be enough. They can't read, but they can always use mobile phones, so one of them can call you. Smart. Gluo gave Soo-kyung-hun a thumbs up, and the girl jumped back a little with an elegant turn, which was indescribably refreshing and beautiful. Let's go. Don't waste time. It will be evening later. Let's go. Let's take you to eat delicious food. Gluo pretended to be generous, but when he walked to Soo-kyung-hun, he directly held her hand. In terms of dating, Gluo has been in the palace for 3 times. How can Soo-kyung-hun, a rookie, compare? Okay. Soo-kyung-hun was pulled by Gluo to the door. As he moved, he looked at Gluo in surprise. Soo-kyung-hun really didn't expect that Gluo, a man with thick eyebrows and big eyes, would be good at taking advantage of opportunities. Soo-kyung-hun, let me tell you, I checked before. There is a roasted whole beef restaurant nearby. Gluo held Soo-kyung-hun's hand, feeling so happy. He was about to take out the stock he had prepared in his stomach, but he didn't expect that at this moment. His cell phone suddenly rang. Gluo made an apologetic expression, took out his cell phone, and saw that it was an electricity bill. Gluo, what message? Oh, an electricity bill for a house. Gluo deleted the message casually without letting Soo-kyung-hun see it. The electricity bill last month cost a full 2,000 yuan. What kind of house? What is it used for? And it consumes so much electricity. It's almost the same as eating electricity. I actually have an old house. I haven't been there for many years. I guess it's going to become a haunted house. Chapter 353, Old House. Zio Wu, let me tell you, The owner of this old house hasn't been here for many years, and it's probably going to be a haunted house. In the smoke, the middle-aged man with untidy beard knocked on the table to cheer up the young man with shifty eyes opposite him. Brother Tao, this house has been empty for so long. How can there be any good things? The young man called Xiao Wu was choked by the smoke and coughed, but the middle-aged man opposite him obviously had no sense of public morality. He still took a puff of cigarette without caring, and blew out a big smoke ring. No good things? You have to say, there are so many good things in it. The middle-aged man touched his beard stubble, and a very fierce expression appeared on his face, as if he had been holding back for a long time. Xiao Wu, let me tell you the truth. 15 years ago. 15 years. 15 years ago, when I was still a millionaire, my house was next door to this house. Do you understand? I understand. I understand. Xiao Wu didn't understand what Brother Tao was talking about, but he could only understand, and had to understand. He had also heard that Brother Tao was once rich, but later his father passed away, the family business was damaged, and he, the successor, was too ambitious and incompetent, so he became increasingly destitute. Of course, even if a millionaire 15 years ago was in ruins, he was still well off. But later, Brother Tao got addicted to gambling, and it was out of control. In the end, his wife and children left him, and he had to live on the streets. You know nothing. Brother Tao took another puff of his cigarette, and pounded the table twice in anger. It was unclear whether he was indignant about his own destitution, or felt sad that he could only look back on the past with someone like Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu, let me tell you, don't look at the houses here, they are not very good now. 15 years ago, when Changlin City was not yet started, the houses here were the most expensive in this city. Do you understand? Barely one of them. When this community was built, the pre-sale price was the amount of money that an ordinary person could not save up for 20 years without eating or drinking. According to this standard, it would still be top-notch real estate now. My family acted late back then, and we spent twice as much to get it. At that time, there lived a girl of 25 or 26 years old opposite our house. She was very beautiful. She brought a little boy of 8 or 9 years old with her. The little boy was very arrogant and very annoying. Brother Tao became angrier and angrier as he spoke, as if he remembered that when he was still a rich second generation, he was looked down upon by an 8 or 9-year-old kid, and there was nothing he could do about it. He was so angry. I had good intentions back then, and took him out to play, but he ended up disappearing in the amusement park. When I finally found him, he had been by my side the entire time, saying he wanted to see me panicking. Brother Tao, that woman, was she pretty? It's not a question of whether she's pretty or not. She really is that kind of rare type. Brother Tao touched his stubble with his right hand, and his eyes actually got a little red, obviously remembering that year very clearly. That woman was the most beautiful and most special person I have ever seen in my life. I have never met anyone like her again in my life. Brother Tao, did you pursue her back then? Yes, I did, but unfortunately she ignored me. The middle-aged man felt bored when talking about the past, and this was one of the reasons why he later gave up on himself. 4 years. I chased her for 4 years, but she disappeared like a drop of water, without even saying goodbye to me. I don't know what happened to that arrogant kid. I guess he felt that his adoptive mother was gone, and he had no one to rely on. Anyway, he wasn't so annoying when we met again. But after that, the house has been empty, no one lives there, and no one comes to take care of it. The house has been abandoned. It's probably all dust now. We can go in and get something, and no one will know. Brother Tao raised his hand, took a long puff of the cigarette in his hand, and then stuffed the cigarette butt into the ashtray. His eyes looked extremely fierce. Xiao Wu, after we make this money, we will leave this city and go somewhere else. But, Brother Tao, no one has lived in this house for so long. How can there be anything important here? Xiao Wu could see that the owner of this house was a middle-aged man's inner demon. He didn't really want to make money, but for revenge. Bullshit. What do you know? I'm in such a state now, how can I care about those things in the past? Don't you think about what I inquired about 2 days ago? Is that house normal? Brother Tao was obviously angry at the young man's ignorance. He raised his hand and hit Xiao Wu's head twice. The young man screamed and covered his head miserably. Brother Tao, we didn't find out anything, but we heard that the electricity bill of that house is very outrageous. Yes. Think about it, a normal empty house would consume so much electricity. Of course not. 2000 yuan a month for electricity, let alone no one living there. Even if there are 2 or 3 families living there, the electricity bill would not be so much. Xiao Wu was not without curiosity about this. Anyone who heard this information would find it strange. This empty house is not a factory. Why is it so expensive? Empty house, no one, and it consumes electricity. What do you think? Haunted? Xiao Wu thought for a long time, and there was only this answer, which made Brother Tao hit him on the head again. Are you stupid? Mining. Ah. Mining? What are you mining? Mining S-coins. S-coins? Xiao Wu scratched his head. He couldn't understand what Brother Tao was talking about. Virtual currency. Oh, I know this. It's so popular. Beating gamers and snatching graphics cards from mining bosses. Get it? In this case, it's obviously a virtual currency mine. Brother Tao is at least a little knowledgeable. He stared at this room for a long time. At first he was curious, but later, he woke up, as if from a dream, and understood everything. This empty room must have a lot of graphics cards in it. My god, the current price of graphics cards. This is going to make a fortune. Xiao, think about it, with a monthly electricity bill of 2000, how many graphics cards must be in it? Calculate how much we can sell these graphics cards for. Brother Tao, we are going to make a fortune. Xiao is a young man after all. His mentality is not very stable. When he thinks about the graphics cards in this room being stolen by them, how much money will they get when they are as old? Brother Tao, it must be millions. Millions. I estimate it must be thousands. Brother Tao showed a ferocious smile on his face, and the joy in his heart was indescribable. Humph, that arrogant little brat. Now your secret has been discovered by me, and you are still pretending to be poor. Even if you pretend to be poor, I will still steal from you. Chapter 354. Squatting. For people who are at the end of their rope, once they have made a decision, it is difficult to turn back. The middle-aged man named Brother Tao, with the shifty Xiao Wu, went through a series of preparations, and began to stake out on the afternoon of the second day. Of course, the so-called squatting is not just squatting there and watching. If you really do that, you will definitely be reported by other residents. It will be embarrassing if you lose more than you gain. Brother Tao is a very stubborn person. He almost dragged Xiao Wu to make a whole set of plans. He also made several alternative plans like the robbers on TV to facilitate escape when necessary. In the end, Xiao Wu saw that the middle-aged man didn't really want to plan everything out. He was just nervous. I don't know if it's because it's the first time he's done such an illegal thing, or because he still has a lingering affection for the woman in that family, so now his heart is swaying and unpredictable. However, these things don't matter. Xiao Wu just followed Brother Tao, stepped on the spot peacefully, confirmed the condition of the doors and windows, bought the necessary props, and then started squatting. The two of them pretended to be salesmen, and recorded the personnel in the surrounding buildings, especially the building where the target was located. The personnel configuration of each household was checked. Nowadays, young people will stay up late to cultivate immortality, and many of them stay up all night. If they don't confirm in advance, they will be discovered and collapse. Brother Tao, we have been squatting for 3 days. It's almost done. Xiao didn't realize before that Brother Tao always boasted loudly, but when it came to the real action, he was so slow. It is right to scout the place beforehand, but how can you squat like this? It's called cautious in a nice way, and cowardly in an unpleasant way. Xiao, do you want to live freely with the money in the future, or do you want to be arrested and serve a few years in prison? Brother Tao looked vicissitudes of life, and those who didn't know would think he had really been arrested and served in prison. However, the middle-aged man's words also reminded Xiao that they were now committing a crime, and it was burglary, which was a serious crime. Brother Tao, I'm just anxious. Since Xiao found out that there were millions of graphics cards in that room, he couldn't eat or sleep well. They were looked down upon in this life. Isn't it because I have no money? When they have money, those who look down on them in the past will definitely come to lick their asses. By then, he will definitely take revenge. Okay, Xiao, don't worry, the meat is in the pot, and you will get it sooner or later. Brother Tao took out a cigarette from his pocket and started smoking again. He stood in the community where he grew up. His mind was full of thoughts, and it was hard to describe. What he lost, he will get back sooner or later. Brother Tao, I just looked again. The target upstairs is a bit difficult to get. Xiao took out his notebook and sighed while typing his crooked words. Brother Tao looked sideways and flicked the ash with his fingers. What's wrong? Isn't that guy just a young man in his 20s? What are you afraid of? That guy is a novelist. He's not energetic in the middle of the night. What should we do? Although Xiao Wu said fiercely, he was actually a little cowardly. If possible, he didn't want to see blood, but Brother Tao's attitude at this time made him a little uneasy. What should we do? What else can we do? Brother Tao made a gesture of wiping his neck. Xiao Wu rubbed his cheeks and finally nodded. After 2 or 3 days of observation, they basically figured out the work and rest of the people around them. They planned to act at 2 o'clock in the middle of the night and finish the work in about 3 hours. At 5 o'clock, it was still dark and people were sleeping soundly. They should not be discovered if they climbed over the wall and ran out. Brother Tao, can we open that door? Should we find a professional? Professional? How much more money will we have to pay for another locksmith? This is not a game, this is burglary. If there is one more person, he is an accomplice and we have to share millions. Brother Tao's desire for money has made him unwilling to share even a penny. If it weren't for the fact that one person couldn't do this kind of thing well, he wouldn't even call Xiao. That's right, we can't call anyone else. Xiao nodded immediately. They made this money in such a dangerous way. They had prepared everything in the early stage. How could they add more people? Then, Brother Tao, what should we do with that door? I checked it out. It's not an ordinary anti-theft door. It's a new model that was just replaced 2 years ago. It has 2 lock cylinders. If the door can't be opened, then don't go through the door. Brother Tao threw the cigarette, but to the ground viciously, and crushed it with his foot. Xiao was shocked by Brother Tao's words. Of course, they considered not going through the door. However, the target is on the 5th floor. They broke the window and climbed in from the side. If they fell down, they would die. Brother Tao, that's the 5th floor. What's wrong with the 5th floor? Tie a rope, it won't kill you. Brother Tao stared at Xiao Wu fiercely at this time and frightened the young man so much that he immediately stopped talking. When Brother Tao saw Xiao Wu's expression, he knew that he had said something serious. He walked back and forth and sighed helplessly. Xiao Wu, this is a big deal worth millions or tens of millions. The first person I thought of as Brother Tao is you. Is that good enough? Good enough, Brother Tao, that's good enough. So, Xiao Wu, we can't do anything now. I'm old, my physique is not good, and my body shape is not suitable, so you can only do it. This is indeed dangerous, but with such a thick rope tied, how can something go wrong? Brother Tao only comforted him and never mentioned the matter of sharing more money. He gave Xiao Wu 3 floors, which was good enough. If he didn't know what was good for him, then don't blame him for being cruel. Okay. Brother Tao, I'll do it. Xiao Wu's impression of the middle-aged man has always been that he has a bad temper and a loud mouth, but this time, he spoke in a nice voice. Xiao was even more scared. After all, money can move people's hearts. Okay. Good brother, that's nice. Brother Tao patted Xiao's shoulder with satisfaction, and the two walked out of the corner of the community and checked the surrounding situation again. Xiao, let's go back and prepare the tools. Let's break the glass before dusk this evening. Okay. Xiao no longer argued, and the matter was settled on whatever the middle-aged man said. The two immediately left the community. It was still a bit difficult to break the glass on the 5th floor. Fortunately, Xiao had some skills and liked to play with slingshots since he was a child. The two planned to break the glass today, and then tomorrow night, the two would go to the corridor on the 6th floor and let Xiao get to the 5th floor by putting a rope. Then, Xiao opened the broken window, went into the house, and opened the door for Brother Tao. The plan was perfectly formulated, and the two men were left with only a burning fire in their hearts, and there was no turning back. After completing this job, they could get everything back. Chapter 355, Rainy Night. When people's evil thoughts turn into evil deeds, their initial mood is always panic and anxiety, but soon, people will find excuses for themselves, excuse themselves, and finally, even to the point of self-hypnosis. Xiao Wu, who has taken a step that cannot be turned back, is in such a state of mind at this time. It's okay. It's okay. The rope is very strong. I can't fall down. I can't fall down. Although Xiao Wu was afraid, he didn't think of running away. The clock on the wall kept making a clicking sound. It was just past midnight, and a new day had arrived, but it was dark outside. Yesterday afternoon, they had successfully broken the window of the target. Through the observation of the telescope, Xiao Wu could be sure that, as long as he stretched his hand into the window, he could open the window directly. Going in from that window is the second bedroom, and going out is the living room, and the door is on the far right. Tao Jie's house turned out to be the opposite door of the target, and the house type must be exactly the same. Through the picture, drawn by Tao Jie, Xiao Wu has been familiar with the whole process. Xiao Wu, don't worry, we will definitely succeed. Brother Tao was no longer nervous at this time. He turned his head and looked out the window. It was dark and windy today, with thick and heavy clouds. It was possible that it would rain in the second half of the night. This kind of weather is undoubtedly the perfect time to commit crimes. Look, God is helping them. What are they afraid of? Brother Tao, what if there is thunder today and wakes up others? It's okay. Our entire plan is designed very perfectly. You just need to reach out, open the window, go in, open the door, and do it in one go. It won't make any sound, and no one can find it. Brother Tao is indeed a man who has lost everything. He didn't mention the real risks of the matter at all, but put all his words on the things they have solved. After being comforted by his accomplices, Xiao Wu also breathed a sigh of relief. It must be said that at this time, the pile of plans designed by Brother Tao worked. No matter what happens, they have made very sufficient plans, and have escape routes. Even if they fail, they can always run away. Xiao, don't worry. After today, we will be millionaires. Brother Tao patted his accomplice's shoulder vigorously. Thinking of the beautiful future, Xiao's eyes suddenly became straight. Looking at his accomplice who had begun to fantasize about a better life, Brother Tao put on a smile on his face, then walked to the window, opened the window, and blew the cold wind at midnight. From beginning to end, he never told Xiao that what he was most worried about was never whether the matter could succeed, but whether there were so many graphics cards in it. What if there was nothing in it, or there was only a very power-consuming machine that was worthless and useless? What should we do? Or, even if there were graphics cards in it, they succeeded, but after the matter succeeded, what would they do with the subsequent pursuit? What they could expect was that Luo would not come back for the time being, and would find out that his mine had been stolen later, so that they would have enough time to sell the stolen goods and then escape. It's okay. It's definitely okay. The middle-aged man encouraged himself for the last time. Then he threw the cigarette butt out of the window and closed the window casually. No matter what, there is no other choice. Yeah, Brother Tao, we have no other choice. Xiao Wu also came over at this time. The middle-aged man stood beside him, patted him on the shoulder, and then went to check the things again. Xiao Wu was thinking a lot at this time, and began to check the ropes used for hanging in person. This kind of thing can only make him feel at ease if he does it himself. As the midnight deepened, the gloomy sky began to drizzle as Brother Tao expected. Fortunately, the two had prepared raincoats, and they were big black raincoats. Xiao Wu, it's almost time to go out. Okay. Xiao Wu checked the things no less than 20 times. At this time, he finally felt relieved. He put on the big bag and began to put on wings. Brother Tao, can't we just bring 2 backpacks? Why do we need to bring such a big trolley case? The big suitcase that Xiao mentioned is really big. It was found by Brother Tao at the garbage station. It is the largest suitcase specially used by train crew members. Not to mention a bunch of things, even a living person can be put in it. when we transport graphics cards, if there are a lot of them, the backpack will not be able to hold them all. This box will be useful. That's right, Xiao Wu thought about it and nodded. Anyway, he was not carrying the box. He was carrying an empty bag on his back, and the bag in his hand was full of tools. Of course, there were also weapons. The two people who were so poor that they no longer cared about the law. They didn't even think about why they ended up in this situation. Instead, they blamed the world and thought that everything was someone else's fault. Amid the continuous whispers, the two people were wearing large raincoats and walked through the dark streets like two midnight ghosts. Then, the two climbed over the designated wall and transported the things over with great effort, especially the large trolley case, which was the most troublesome. However, Brother Tao was working silently all the time without saying much. Although Xiao Wu muttered something, he didn't say anything else. Xiao Wu still didn't understand the real purpose of Brother Tao taking this box. If there were really a lot of graphics cards, they would definitely have to be put in the box. In this way, Brother Tao carries a bag and a box. If something really happens, he can just let Xiao take the blame and escape with the things. With this in mind, Brother Tao spoke less and less. The rain gradually got heavier, and the two of them walked more and more hurriedly, until they were close to the destination. Xiao is still young after all. Although he usually does not do his job, and is idle all day, and sometimes he steals things, but those are just small things after all. But today, they are really going to do something big. Brother Tao, are you afraid? Don't be nervous, it's nothing. Brother Tao was terrified when he was planning, but now that he was really going to start, he calmed down instead. The two walked to the door of the building, and Brother Tao opened the door with the prepared key, and the two walked in carefully. Because they had a guilty conscience, they didn't even dare to make a sound to activate the voice-activated lights in the corridor. With the help of the flashlight, the two of them went up to the 6th floor quietly, and then Brother Tao opened the window, and Xiao began to use the prepared thick rope to tie it up on the stair railing. Because it was impossible to accurately estimate the length from the 6th floor to the 5th floor, the rope was a bit long, but Xiao was not too worried about this. He was thin and weak, and Brother Tao was strong enough to pull him up. Xiao wrapped the stair railing and then began to tie it around his waist. The two of them had no money, so the whole set of things was the cheapest kind, which was a bit difficult to use. But fortunately, the two of them had tried many times, and now it didn't take too much effort to actually do it. Xiao, it's done. Chapter 356, White Plants. Then Brother Tao, I'm going down. Xiao Wu pulled the rope on his waist. He was actually very scared, but at this point, he had no choice. Be careful, it's okay, I'll pull you up. Brother Tao patted his heavy gloves, looking very powerful. If something really went wrong, he must be able to pull Xiao Wu up directly. Okay. Xiao Wu nodded vigorously and began to descend from the corridor window on the 6th floor. The corridor window was very small, and the distance to the 5th floor was actually very long. Brother Tao pulled the rope from above so that Xiao Wu could descend slowly to avoid any accidents. Boom. At this time, a muffled thunder suddenly sounded in the sky. Brother Tao, who was holding the rope, was frightened and trembled. The rope in his hand loosened and slid down a distance. Xiao Wu outside the window let out a cry, and Brother Tao immediately grabbed the rope and stabilized the situation. After waiting for a while, Brother Tao did not hear the voices of the residents around him, and his heart was finally relieved. He lowered the rope again and let Xiao Wu go down along the floor with peace of mind. Crackling, crackling, crackling. After the thunder, the rain suddenly became heavy, almost like the sound of frying beans. Xiao lay on the drainage pipe on the 5th floor, wiped the water off his face, and whispered in the headset that the length was enough. A few seconds later, Brother Tao's voice came. He had tied the rope, and Xiao was not worried about accidents. Xiao did not answer Brother Tao at this time. He was panting, and did not dare to look down. He was lying on the 5th floor. If he fell, he would definitely die suddenly. But fortunately, everything was planned perfectly. Xiao tightened his raincoat and began to move slowly to the side. Because it was an old community, the surface of the building was not smooth, which gave Xiao a great stand. He used his hands and feet to move carefully towards the target. Boom boom boom. In the pitch black night, the thunder became louder and louder. Every time it thundered, Xiao Wu trembled. He didn't even dare to move too fast, for fear that someone would suddenly open the window and find him. Fortunately, everything went very smoothly. Although Xiao Wu spent a lot of time, he still climbed to the broken window. Then, Xiao Wu reached into the window and quickly opened the lock. With a little effort, he pushed the window open completely. Crash. Broken glass fell from the windowsill, making a crackling sound. Xiao Wu was startled again. He waited for about 2 minutes before climbing into the window. Brother Tao, I'm going in. Xiao Wu untied the rope buckle tied around his waist and became completely free. At this time, Brother Tao in the corridor also breathed a sigh of relief. Understood. After knowing that Xiao Wu had entered the room, Brother Tao immediately began to pull the rope up. Then he quickly took the rope from the stair railing, stuffed the things into his pocket, and turned to walk to the door of the 5th floor. Xiao Wu, how is the situation? Brother Tao, it's a bit strange. The young man with shifty eyebrows and rat eyes was very hesitant at this time. He searched the room with a flashlight in his hand, but he felt an unspeakable fear in his heart. According to Brother Tao's description, the place he entered now should be a bedroom, but the strange thing is that there is no furniture in the room at all, which is so empty that it makes people panic. If it is just empty, it is just a room with nothing. The key problem is that the walls of the whole house are covered with white plants. This plant looks like creeper and a bit like tree roots, but in short, it is very strange. They seem to be alive. That's right. The roots of these plants give people a very vigorous feeling of vitality, just like the continuous beating of a human heart. Anyway, you can feel their growth vitality when you stand next to it. This weird food is completely white. If you don't walk into the house and simply look at it from the outside, you might just think that the white wall has some cracks. But in fact, these are completely living plant roots, but they are crawling all over the room, densely packed and everywhere. What is this? Xiao Wu's flashlight swung back and forth. He felt that he saw something that should not be seen. These things were obviously not ordinary plants. They were too weird. Xiao Wu, what's wrong with your end? Open the door for me. On the other side, Brother Tao had obviously arrived at the predetermined location. He was very anxious because he was afraid of being discovered. Under Brother Tao's urging, Xiao Wu did not dare to look around and hurried to the living room. Click. The door lock of the room was a little rusty, but it could still be opened. Xiao Wu walked into the bedroom and did not dare to look around. Instead, he hurried to the door and opened it. Brother Tao, something is wrong with this room. What's wrong? Brother Tao dragged his suitcase and walked into the room. He was very alert and carefully closed the door. Then he tried to turn on the lights in the living room. However, the light switch seemed to have lost its function and there was no feedback at all. Brother Tao frowned and checked the switch next to him. He found that there was no problem with the power supply of the house. There is electricity, but the light is broken. Brother Tao also felt that something was wrong at this time. He tried to turn off the switch, then turned it on again, but the light in the bedroom was still not on. Brother Tao, what's going on in this room? What kind of plant is this? Brother Tao stamped his feet, then squatted down and checked the white plant rhizomes. It's strange to say that normal plants feel cold to the touch, but this white plant feels a little warm to the touch and feels a bit like an electric blanket. Brother Tao has never seen this kind of plant before. He tried to break it and found that this plant is very strong and its hardness is comparable to that of stone. What's even more weird is that this white plant rhizome does not grow on the surface of the room. It can grow into this shape now, not covering, but interlacing. They can actually grow from reinforced concrete walls and floors, and they are so natural and ingenious. Brother Tao, no plant can grow in cement. Xiao took a quick look and didn't find any graphics cards in the living room. The second bedroom he just entered was even more empty. Thinking this way, even if there are mining machines, they can't be placed in the toilet and kitchen. In their case, except for the master bedroom, they are basically sentenced to death. Look carefully, there must be something in the house. The electricity bill is 2,000 yuan a month. I don't believe he doesn't have any machines that use electricity. Brother Tao was actually very uncertain, but as an atheist, he didn't believe in the existence of ghosts. Since the electricity bill for this house is 1000 or 2000 yuan a month, there must be equipment that consumes electricity. You can't say that you are alone and turn on the air conditioner 24 hours a day. Chapter 357, Between the White Trees. Yes, there must be something that uses electricity. Xiao Wu nodded vigorously, as if he was awakened. Of course, it might also be that he was trying to convince himself not to tremble with nervousness. Because he was afraid of this strange plant, Xiao Wu had been standing by the wall, observing the surroundings very carefully. It was this alertness that made him discover an incredible truth. Brother Tao, look quickly. Huh? What are you looking at? The middle-aged man was startled by Xiao Wu's surprise, but he quickly calmed down. The light of the flashlight perfectly overlapped with Xiao Wu's light. As far as the line of sight was, at the corner of the wall, the rhizome of the white plant was inserted into the power socket, and like blood flowing, it was stimulating its vigorous vitality. Brother Tao, this plant grows on electricity? Xiao Wu's voice had completely changed at this time. Although he was not a good student in his life, he had never heard of any plant that grew on electricity. Alien plants? Or something beyond common sense in the fantasy world? Where did that brat get this thing? Brother Tao is not a fool. Who would raise a plant that consumes 1 or 2000 yuan of electricity a month? And look, this plant has spread all over the room. It even drilled into the reinforced concrete walls in the ground and grew out again. It's really scary. What on earth is he doing with this thing? Brother Tao kicked the ground with his feet, but didn't find any reaction from the plants under his feet. Then he leaned forward and observed the electrical socket carefully. The place where the power is absorbed is probably the root of this plant. Unlike the white stems, the roots here are light purple and translucent, emitting a faint light. The way it absorbs power is also very strange, just like a person breathing. Its roots flicker and seem to be synchronized with the human heart. Brother Tao, this can't be a monster. Xiao felt a little familiar with the scene in front of him. He remembered that, when he was a child, he watched Ultraman and there seemed to be such an episode. The monster can continue to grow and become bigger by absorbing electricity, which is very scary. Brother Tao, we are in reality. There is no Ultraman. What if it really turns into a monster? What are you afraid of? Nothing has happened yet, has it? Brother Tao stood up from the ground and swept the flashlight around the room. Sure enough, not only the 4 walls, but also the ground and the ceiling were all covered with this white plant, and it seemed that they were still growing. Xiao Wu, don't forget that it took it 10 years to grow into this terrifying scene. 10 years to grow into what it is now. Brother Tao actually didn't know how long it took for this white plant to grow into what it is now, but he vaguely remembered that the child named Jialuo stopped coming here 10 years ago. Brother Tao, this thing must have a very strange effect, otherwise who would keep it? Let's go. Xiao Wu was already scared at this time. Since they didn't find the graphics card, they just ran away. No one had lived in this house for more than 10 years, and there was nothing in it, so there was nothing to steal. Xiao, you also said that this thing must be useful. At this time, Brother Tao was not only not scared, but also concluded that this plant was very useful. Calculate it, 2000 electricity bills a month, 24,000 a year, and 240,000 in 10 years. If this thing is not very useful, who would spend so much money to raise it? Brother Tao. Xiao really just wanted to leave, but unfortunately, the middle-aged man had already made a decision. Xiao, it will take 10 years for this thing to grow into its current shape, and the electricity bill is 240,000. Brother Tao said these words almost with gritted teeth. He now had a bit of the idea of no venture, no gain. He sold everything he had and used the last money to do this. If he got nothing, he might as well die. You saw the second bedroom, but you didn't see the master bedroom. Brother Tao didn't want to explain anymore now. He felt that Xiao was a hopeless case, so he no longer hesitated, pushed the young man away, and walked towards the master bedroom. Brother Tao, I listened to you. Xiao Wu also saw that he was being disliked, so he hurriedly followed the middle-aged man to show his firm force field. In the room full of white plants, the two walked to the door of the master bedroom. Brother Tao made a gesture. Although Xiao Wu was a little hesitant, he still stretched out his hand and pushed open the door of the room. Oh my god. Xiao Wu was originally afraid that there would be some monsters in the room, but there were no monsters. Instead, there was something they had always dreamed of. Like the second bedroom, the slightly larger master bedroom had no furniture, not even a bed to sleep on or a chair to sit on. However, in the empty master bedroom, the white plants entangled into a huge spindle. The dense roots and stems intertwined with each other, like hemp ropes and silk threads, weaving into a huge cocoon. And in the center of the cocoon was a huge purple-blue gem. It was really huge, and it even made people doubt whether it was a product of this world. The whole gem was oval in shape, about 1.6 meters high, and the arc of the downward descent was not abrupt, but rather very round. What was even more incredible was that this purple-blue gem was twinkling with stars in the darkness, as beautiful as the vast night sky. Oh my god. Brother Tao stared at the gem that was almost as big as a person. His brain had already frozen. He couldn't imagine how much such a large gem could be sold for. Billions? Hundreds of billions? This is truly a priceless treasure. Xiao Wu, quickly prepare the tools. Let's pry the gem away. Brother Tao couldn't wait any longer. He tore off his raincoat and poured out the tools in his backpack. At this time, Xiao Wu's eyes were still staring at the gem and the white vines, but his body moved strangely, and without shifting his gaze, he bent down and stretched out his hand to grab the axe on the ground. Xiao Wu, you go to the left, I'll go to the right. Brother Tao also picked up an axe and directed Xiao Wu to work together, but he didn't get a reply, and Xiao Wu also stood there without moving. Xiao Wu? Brother Tao slowly felt something was wrong. He clenched the axe in his hand, ready to fight back if necessary. However, what Brother Tao didn't expect was that at this moment, Xiao Wu suddenly turned his head and looked at him coldly. At this moment, the young man named Xiao Wu had completely lost his human emotions. His eyes no longer had pupils and whites, but were completely blue-purple, as deep as the night. And then, it was blood red. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358, Two People on the Train. May 3rd, 3006, 3 o'clock in the night wilderness. The speeding train was like a long steel dragon, accompanied by rhythmic sounds, and the carriage was shaking slightly. It was late at night, and the lights on the roof had been turned off. Compared with other carriages, the soft sleeper had a slightly larger space, and most of the passengers were already asleep. Only occasionally someone who went to the toilet would pass by. Boom. The sound of the invisible five senses echoed in the sky like thunder, and Gluo, who was already a light sleeper, suddenly woke up, and then sat up in horror. Gluo, what's wrong? Su Qinghan slept on the side of Gluo, and the two were separated by only an aisle. The girl was obviously still sleeping before, but when Gluo woke up, she reacted quickly. No, nothing. Gluo panted, and barely propped up his body. Sensing his discomfort, Su Qinghan got out of bed, put on his shoes, and walked to his side. Gluo, did you have a nightmare? You sweat a lot. Su Qinghan took out his towel from his bag, not caring about the smell of sweat, and wiped Gluo's sweat very carefully. Thank you, nothing happened. Gluo shook his head and felt that his thoughts were in chaos. He had a nightmare, a very real nightmare. But the strange thing was that when he woke up, he forgot everything in the dream, completely forgot it. Is it raining outside? I seem to hear thunder. Raining? Su Qinghan obviously didn't hear the thunder. She opened the curtains and looked out, but she only saw a starry night without clouds, and there was no sign of thunder at all. Gluo, are you not used to sleeping on the train, and mistook the sound of the train for thunder? I guess so. Gluo turned his head to look out the window, and then turned his head immediately, as if his vision was burned. At this moment, the huge pupil above the zenith appeared again. But the strange thing is that, unlike the pattern GLUO recorded before, this time, the giant pupil on the sky did not appear within the scope of Changlin City. GLUO had observed the giant pupil before, only in Changlin City. It was for this reason that GLUO would stay in his hometown and not leave. But now, he and Sukinghan were clearly on the train, far away from Changlin City, but he still saw the huge pupil. What's going on? What made him look away from Changlin City? Was he staring at himself? Or at other passengers on this train? GLUO rubbed his head and felt that his thoughts were getting more and more confused. His previous nightmare was too real, so real that he still had lingering fears. But why did he forget the content of the dream in an instant? GLUO, what's wrong? Sukinghan noticed GLUO's worries, and she gently pressed GLUO's forehead with her white fingers. GLUO wanted to stop it reflexively, but when he thought that she was his girlfriend, he immediately lay down with peace of mind. I had a nightmare. I dreamed that you left. GLUO looked weak now, and with a gloomy expression. It was as if what he said was true. Sukinghan's fingers stopped massaging, as if he was overwhelmed by GLUO's sudden straight bull. It's okay, I'm by your side now, it was just a dream. Sukinghan's fingers gently stroked GLUO's frowning brows, and then the girl looked at him with clear eyes. Her long light blue hair had a hazy color, and it was so beautiful that it seemed to disappear at any time. Kinghan, after we help the National Security Bureau 19th Bureau solve this problem, let's go and rescue Mu Yingluo. GLUO moved his body back to make more space for Sukinghan. Then he put the pillow behind his waist and sat up a little. Okay. Sukinghan didn't show any surprise on her face. She just spread her palm and let GLUO hold her hand. Kinghan, why are your hands so cold? Are you cold? GLUO hadn't noticed it before, but now he was holding Sukinghan's hand, and it felt a little cold. He put the girl's hand on his cheek, and it felt okay. I have a cold body, it's a little cold. Nothing. Sukinghan's expression looked very natural. GLUO waved her hand, and was a little skeptical, but nodded. I have a strong firepower, just complement each other. GLUO deliberately showed a mean expression. Sukinghan raised her pink fist and hit his chest, as if blaming him for not being serious. Ah, cough, 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 I was hurt by you, and I need a kiss to heal. Silly, keep your voice down. Sukinghan covered GLUO's mouth with some embarrassment. From childhood to adulthood, the environment she lived in was actually not very reassuring. She had been used to being alone, and even many times, she didn't know how to respond to other people's kindness. But for some reason, at this moment, she looked at GLUO's shining eyes and suddenly felt warm in her heart. GLUO let Sukinghan cover his mouth. His eyes rolled twice. He had another bad idea. He suddenly licked Sukinghan's palm, which scared the girl. GLUO, keep your voice down. Everyone else is asleep. GLUO quickly put his hands in front of his chest and moved other people to stop Sukinghan's revenge. Kinghan, we helped the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau this time, and we can be regarded as officially connected. Waiting for Mu Yingluo to be rescued, let's join the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau. GLUO, you? Sukinghan really didn't expect GLUO to say that. She stared at GLUO blankly, as if to confirm his thoughts, and GLUO looked at her without hesitation, without any intention of joking. Why? Sukinghan knew that GLUO had always been very insecure. He always tried to hide himself as much as possible, not to show off, and to avoid exposure as much as possible. As an evolver at the peak of the second Black Iron stage, he lived a more depressed life than ordinary people. Although he didn't know what caused GLUO to have such an idea, Sukinghan still liked GLUO like this. After all, this kind of self-centered and anonymous character is itself a kind of kindness. It's like, other people are out there, living a life of debauchery, and I stay at home, isolated from the world, and keep myself safe. This is the realm of Tao Yuanming's sage. GLUO has been living like this all the time. He has been dormant in the world for 10 years. He has no ambitions, and all he has is to live a peaceful life. But now, why should he abandon his usual principles and join the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau? He was hiding from official agencies before, and he wanted to hide himself in the ground, but now he took the initiative to jump out and join the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau. Is it because of her? Or for her? GLUO, you have always stayed out of it. There is no need to get involved. Chapter 359, about the future. GLUO, I don't want you to get involved. Soo Kyung-hun was no longer in the mood to joke. She let GLUO play with her hands, but the emotion in her eyes was serious. I know, I understand. GLUO has always pursued a policy of survival. He hides like a hamster every day. It took him courage to make this plan. Kyung-han, for a long time, I have been in a state of one person eating, and the whole family is not hungry. There is nothing I need to worry about, so I live a very independent life. The expression on GLUO's face looked a little clumsy. What he was thinking now was not to convince Soo Kyung-han. He just wanted to tell her his thoughts and let her understand. In this way, the two can understand each other and face this world with dark tides together. Kyung-han, the past can't be changed. I can't change it, and neither can you. I know you've done a lot of very excessive things, and I understand that. Now, all I hope is that you can take me with you on the road to repaying your debt. I'm not doing this out of responsibility or pity. I just want to accompany you. I want to see the scenery of the future with you. Even if the world is destroyed, at least we can die together. Soo Kyung-han, no one is perfect. Many people have died and are tied to us. We must bear this sin. But the road of life, we can't just give up on ourselves in a muddle. We have to work hard to survive and can't let this world knock us down. GLUO seemed to be afraid that Soo Kyung-han would have some extreme reaction, so he spoke very slowly, but Soo Kyung-han just listened carefully without any reaction. GLUO, do you mean to atone with me? I have this idea, but it's not just that. I think that to comment on a person's value or good or bad, we should look at the total amount. The right or wrong of the moment does not mean forever. GLUO's words were a bit veiled, but Soo Kyung-han understood. What GLUO wanted to say was that she had killed many people before. This was a mistake and a sin, and she had to admit it. However, sins and mistakes should not end with simple death, but should be compensated by doing something to change one's own value. If you have killed 100 people, then do something more valuable than these 100 people. If you have killed 1,000 people, then save 10,000 people. There is no offset between merits and demerits in this world, but there must be clear rewards and punishments. She has walked so many wrong paths, but as long as she turns back and walks further on the right path, then her life must be valuable. She should be allowed to live forever. So, GLUO, do you want to join the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau with me? Kyung-han, don't look at me like that. Let's not talk about anything else. Just talk about conviction and trial. Who decides this? GLUO was a little weak to begin with, and at this time, facing Soo Kyung-han's solemn gaze, the psychological pressure was even greater. However, Soo Kyung-han did not mean to take action, but instead used his palm to smooth his breath, so that he could feel more comfortable. Judgment and conviction are both based on justice, right? Justice does exist, but it is one-sided. This world is not black and white. What we follow is not justice, but the law. Judgment and conviction are all decided and executed by the state. GLUO's meaning was obvious. Soo Kyung-han was stunned. Only then did she understand that the reason why GLUO wanted to join the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau with her was to escape the judgment of the state. GLUO, this behavior, is it evil? It is evil, and it is the most despicable evil, but this is how the world is. GLUO grabbed Soo Kyung-han's palm with his hand, holding her tightly to prevent her from breaking free. Kyung-han, in this world, the only things that can truly judge us are the morality and justice in our hearts. You have done wrong things, but you have also saved many people, and I'm one of them. Join the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau, and you will be able to wash away everything in the past, say goodbye to your former self, live a good life, and start over again. Don't worry, I will be with you, I will stand by you, and pay off your debts with you. To put it bluntly, people like us have greater value in living than in dying. We can save many people, and even when the end of the world comes, we can also be a tall person and support others for a few seconds. If nothing else, at least they can live a few more seconds. Jialuo's voice was already a little anxious. He looked into Su Qinghen's eyes and grabbed her hand, as if reminding her, and as if explaining. Su Qinghen, don't give up, we have to live. Su Qinghen listened to Jialuo's pleading and slowly closed her eyes. She didn't know where she had exposed herself. Anyway, Jialuo had seen her intention to die. Her only wish now was to rescue Mu Yingluo. As long as she could be rescued, she would have no regrets even if she died. In other words, for Mu Yingluo, she must die. This was the price in the end. However, Jialuo wanted to stop all this. He wanted to use the weight of his life to share the pressure of Su Qinghen's death, so that she could live, even if it was with guilt and regret, and live in pain. Qinghen, I'm 25 this year, and you're 19. Next year, I'll be 26, and you'll be 20, and we can get married. Jialuo no longer concealed it at this time. He said something similar to a proposal. Su Qinghen opened her eyes, looked at the expectation, and pleading in his eyes, opened her lips, but couldn't say anything. Su Qinghen, before the end of this year, we will definitely be able to rescue Mu Yingluo, and then we will join the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau. I heard that their salary is very high and the benefits are particularly good. We can get a lot of pensions when we retire. You are so easy to satisfy. Su Qinghen's voice at this time could already be heard to be different. She wiped her tears with her hands and showed a very complicated smile on her face. She really didn't expect that Jialuo would talk to her about the future, about their marriage, and about their retirement at this time. She relied on her previous ability of death return to live more than 10 years longer than normal people. Although her physical age is 19, she has really experienced too much psychologically. In her heart, she really longs for a stable life, and this is what Jialuo is looking forward to now. One is Jialuo's hope, and the other is her own hope. The two visions merged together are obviously the best hope, but why will it become like this now? Jialuo, let's talk about the future in the future. I'm only 19 years old, it's still early. Although Su Qinghen forced a smile in her eyes, Jialuo looked like an abandoned child, with a look of disappointment. Then he lowered his head and opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Chapter 360, Review. After Su Qinghen gave a meaningless answer, the atmosphere between the two of them became silent. Su Qinghen wanted to say something several times, but he felt it was inappropriate. At this time, Jialuo leaned on the pillow, and because of the train bed, he curled up slightly. The expression on his face was not disappointment, but a sigh. He understood her choice, and understood her choice, but it was precisely because of the understanding that he sighed even more. The scenery outside the window passed by quickly at this time. Su Qinghen looked at the silent Jialuo and suddenly remembered a sentence: I am too young, and don't even know how to love him. In her life, there is only darkness, death, and confusion. What she has experienced is almost all decline and killing. Jialuo accepted her like this, but she couldn't even give a promise. Qinghen, let's not talk about this. Just before the lights went out, Kichudi sent me a bunch of information, but I haven't had time to read it yet. Jialuo was mentally prepared after all. He didn't remain silent for too long, and changed the subject. Su Qinghen also showed an interested expression and let go of what had just happened. Jialuo, I'm also very curious. What kind of incident is it that actually requires the headquarters of the National Security Bureau 19 to send people to support, and they specially chose people from the Assault Division? Su Qinghen is relatively familiar with the National Security Bureau 19. Although the National Security Bureau 19 is divided into 6 departments, the most capable ones are the National Security Department and the Assault Department. The National Security Department is better in terms of completeness, and each team can stand on its own, but in terms of professionalism, it is inferior to the specialized teams. As the leader of the Assault Division, Kichuda's combat ability is definitely the top part of the National Security Bureau 19. Thinking about it this way, you can probably understand the weight of Kichudi as a captain and her astonishing combat ability. Theoretically, such a professional assault team would have a total of 12 people. In a joint operation, this fully staffed assault team could defeat an enemy 3 times its number, or stop an enemy 5 times its number in its tracks. But usually, a complete combat team would provide support in the form of splitting up. After all, the country is so large that firefighting is needed everywhere. Therefore, the basic battle formation is a group of 6, a group of 4, or at least a group of 2. This time, the support was provided by the Captain Kichudi, who brought the team member named Easy for direct emergency support. The matter must be serious. She also sent me the support report, and it seems that people are missing. GLUO had not finished reading the information, because Su King-han ordered him to go to bed early. Now that both of them were awake, he took out the laptop from the side, and opened the information one by one. King-han, come up and take a look. It's so uncomfortable to sit like this. No, I'll just lower my head. Su King-han was not mentally prepared for close contact with GLUO, but GLUO was thick-skinned. The mattress on the train was narrow to begin with, but he shrunk a lot and made half of it for Su King-han. Come up. It's uncomfortable to twist your body. Okay. Su King-han didn't beat GLUO after all, or she just made GLUO sad, and now she didn't want to disappoint GLUO with this request. The girl had never had the experience of sleeping with a man, so she looked a little experienced. The girl took off her shoes, revealing a cute cat head on her white socks, and then she got on the bed sideways. Because the bed was very narrow, Su King-han originally thought that she could just use some force, but unexpectedly, GLUO suddenly hugged her waist and forcefully pulled her into his arms. The bed is a bit narrow, come closer. GLUO's voice sounded very natural. Su King-han was wrapped around the waist by GLUO's hand, and her whole body leaned in his arms. Her breathing became uncontrollably disordered. However, GLUO did not stop there. He pulled open the quilt and covered Su King-han and him. The two of them lay tightly together on a narrow bed, feeling each other's warmth under the same quilt. King-han, are you still cold? No, not cold anymore. Su King-han shook her head vigorously. She couldn't even imagine what GLUO would do to her if she answered that she was still cold. That's good. GLUO nodded seriously, as if he really wanted to keep Su King-han from getting cold. Feeling the girl's delicate body and smelling her elegant fragrance, GLUO's expression softened. He did not push his luck and harass Su King-han any further, but put away the laptop so that she could also see the information on it. It must be said that the information from the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau was really complete, especially since Kichudi was worried about GLUO's safety, so she did not miss anything and send it all at once. The cause of the whole thing now seems not simple, and there were signs even at the beginning of the matter. Mayoan Village is a village at the foot of the mountain. Because of the upsurge in entering the city in recent years, the permanent population is now only more than 50 households and a little over 100 people. Among them, nearly half of the elderly and children make a living by farming and mountain products. The village has electricity, but they still rely on wells for drinking water. About a month ago, a child disappeared in the mountains and forests, and the whole village was mobilized to look for him, but no one was seen. But in the search for the child, a young man picked up an ancient jade. He did not tell others, but hid it secretly. Later, he went to the city to sell the ancient jade, and it was sold for more than 100,000. The young man tasted the sweetness of this, and he went to that place to look for it again, and unexpectedly found another good jade hairpin. This time, the shopkeeper offered a higher price and tried to get words from the young man, asking where the jade hairpin came from. Unfortunately, the young man was very smart and did not say where he picked it up. And the third time, the young man went there to pick up something, and he never came back. Afterwards, the livestock in the village still died. At first, it was chickens and ducks, then pigs and dogs, and finally cattle and horses, which died tragically one by one at night. This strange situation soon alarmed the people of the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau, and 2 bronze-level evolvers were transferred there. After the 2 arrived in the village, they searched for 3 whole days, but found nothing abnormal. With their arrival, the livestock did not die again. However, on the morning of the 4th day, it was discovered that one of the National Security Bureau 19 personnel was missing, and there were no signs of fighting in the house where he lived. Subsequently, according to the emergency handling procedures, another National Security Bureau 19 personnel reported all known information and urgently requested support. After confirming the ancient jade confiscated from the store, the danger level of the whole incident was raised 3 levels, and it was reported directly to the Zhejiang headquarters, and the assault department provided support. Chapter 361, Antiquities. Is this ancient jade so powerful that the National Security Bureau 19th Bureau mobilized a large number of troops? GLUO flipped through the information and felt that this ancient jade was quite beautiful, but he didn't feel anything special. No, this ancient jade is indeed worth mobilizing a large number of troops. Su Qinghan reached out to take the mouse of the notebook, magnified the photo of the ancient jade several times, and carefully examined its texture. The more he looked, the more he frowned. GLUO, this kind of jade should have a color similar to celadon. Its current blood color with lines is probably from blood sacrifice. Blood sacrifice? Yes, it is a blood sacrifice. Not only that, this ancient jade is very old. What dynasty is it from? I remember that there seemed to be a tradition of burying living people in ancient times, and blood sacrifice must have also been there. GLUO didn't think there was anything wrong with the matter before, but when he heard the word blood sacrifice, GLUO immediately perked up. Blood sacrifice must have been associated with witchcraft in the early years, and it was one of the most vicious ones. More importantly, the blood sacrifice may be livestock, but it may also be people. GLUO, look at the picture of this jade hairpin. Judging from its luster, it should have not seen the light of day for a long time. It can be considered a burial item, but it is different from the ancient jade. It should be just an ordinary jade hairpin, nothing special. Su Qinghan's knowledge is much broader than GLUO's. She introduced the characteristics of jade to GLUO like a treasure, revealing the basis of her judgment. But unfortunately, GLUO didn't understand much. He could only draw a conclusion. This ancient jade is extraordinary, and this jade hairpin is very ordinary. Qinghan, in this case, these things should have been dug out from the ancient tomb. After reading all the information, GLUO rubbed his sore eyes and had a rough judgment of the whole thing in his heart. The child disappeared. A man found the ancient jade, and then the man disappeared. The personnel of the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau conducted an investigation. The first 3 days were calm, but on the 4th day, the child disappeared strangely. After a rough association, GLUO suspected that this was the case. A child was playing in the forest and accidentally discovered an ancient tomb. Then she went into play and awakened the wild soul sleeping in the ancient tomb, so she died. After the wild soul ate her soul, it gradually began to revive. Later, the whole village was mobilized to find the child. A man found the ancient tomb. Because there were many people around, he did not dare to stay for long. He took a piece of ancient jade and ran out. Then, he took the ancient jade and sold it to someone in the antique market. After learning about its huge value, he sneaked into the ancient tomb again. As for why the man only took a jade hairpin when he entered the ancient tomb for the 2nd time, it is still unexplainable, but he came out safely this time and sold it for another sum of money. The 3rd time he entered the ancient tomb, he never came out again and was killed directly by the wild soul. After the awakened wild soul ate the souls of a child and a man, it became able to move and began to attack livestock. Judging from the photos of the livestock's death, they were neither sucked of blood nor eaten of meat, but simply killed, which obviously coincided with the trajectory of the wild soul's massacre. Only eats souls, no need for blood and flesh. Later, the personnel of the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau intervened, and the wild soul hid, looking for an opportunity to kill with one blow. 3 days of peace and quiet made the personnel of the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau relax, and they were killed at night. Su Qinghan, what do you think of my analysis? After GLUO finished his guess, he touched his chin and pulled his non-existent beard, looking very much like a dog-headed master. Your judgment is a possibility, but there are some problems. Su Qinghan did not immediately deny GLUO's guess, or it seems that the whole document is moving closer to this possibility. However, Su Qinghan has traveled all over the country for so many years, and he is still relatively familiar with the wild soul, so he can detect some abnormalities. For example, the wild soul in the ancient tomb. According to the existing information, the first time humans discovered the wild soul was 8 years ago, and there was no earlier. In this way, the mode of the birth of the wild soul may be 8 years ago, or a little earlier. However, no matter how early it is impossible to be hundreds or thousands of years earlier. Humans have dug so many ancient tombs, but they haven't seen any monsters or wild spirits in the tombs. As for the holy relics, after research, those things are not caused by time. In other words, holy relics are not equal to ancient relics. Holy relics may be ancient relics, but most ancient relics are not holy relics. Holy relics are related to legends, or some strange things that humans think. Based on long-term research, people probably guess that the truth of holy relics may be some kind of concept that is hosted on them. Well, it's a bit problematic. GLUO doesn't really think that what he thinks up is the truth. Although he has been cramming for a while recently, GLUO really doesn't know too much about the basic common sense of the other world. For example, until now, GLUO has not used any holy relics. Although he took the pair of daggers called Butcher's Knife from Heiku Duhan, GLUO can't use them at all. Because, if the evolver wants to use the holy relics, he needs to resonate with it, just like letting it accept himself. After completing the resonance, humans only need to inject source power into the holy relic to stimulate its characteristics or abilities. It feels roughly like the ancient cavalry. Humans need to have long-term communication and understanding with horses, and feed them enough grass, before they can ride horses to fight, and become one with horses. Compared with GLUO, who is very unsophisticated, Sukinghan is undoubtedly knowledgeable. She did not make guesses about things immediately, so as not to solidify the impression and affect her judgment. The girl flipped through the long information, trying to see the hidden information between the lines. GLUO, now it is certain that there must be an ancient tomb near Mayoan village. Yes, after all, ancient jade and jade hairpins are burial objects. Can you tell the approximate dynasty of them? GLUO opened the map of Mayoan village, trying to confirm where it was in ancient times, whether it was a big city. Generally speaking, the tombs of the ancients are near cities or towns. No matter what else, no one goes to the wilderness to worship their ancestors. Unfortunately, GLUO didn't find out anything. Dingun village is a poor and remote place at the foot of the mountain. In ancient times, it was a place where refugees lived in the mountains to avoid taxes. How could they afford to see ancient tombs? When they died, they were buried on the spot, which was comparable to a mass grave. What dynasty? I can't tell, but Chapter 362, Fiber Cloud. But what's wrong? GLUO hugged Sukinghan tightly, and the girl just turned her head slightly at this time, so close that it seemed like they were already sticking to each other. I suspect that the blood sacrifice carried by this ancient jade is not that long ago. Ah, doesn't that mean? GLUO was shocked by Sukinghan's words. This answer is not something that can be said casually. The ancient jade and the jade hairpin are undoubtedly ancient objects buried with the dead, but if the blood sacrifice carried by the ancient jade is a recent thing, then the whole thing has changed. In this era, if someone actually touches this taboo sacrifice, the only fate is death. I can't be sure of this. I can only say that there is such a possibility. The specific situation still needs to be seen at the place. Sukinghan was already accustomed to GLUO's intimacy at this time, or the girl was focusing all her attention on analyzing the information to prevent herself from having an excessive reaction to GLUO's approach. Yes, I can only go over and take a look. GLUO flipped through the information again, but did not find any new clues. Sukinghan pretended to yawn, lifted the quilt, and got out of bed. GLUO, it's almost dawn, sleep a little longer. Sukinghan had already put on her shoes. The girl breathed a sigh of relief, and when she turned around, she had regained her usual calmness. I'm not sleepy anymore. Let's chat a little longer. GLUO was definitely unwilling to lose the soft jade fragrance he had in his heart, but unfortunately Sukinghan didn't give him this opportunity. The girl reached out and tidied up the quilt for him, and then closed the laptop. Go to sleep, the train will arrive in 4 or 5 hours. Sukinghan tidied up the bed for Sukinghan and poured him a glass of water very considerately. Gluo wanted to say that he was not thirsty, but seeing the tenderness between the girl's eyebrows, Gluo was very obedient. King Han, you should sleep for a while too. After Gluo drank the water, he lay down again. Su Qinghan wiped his forehead and felt his body temperature. After confirming that Gluo was fine, he tucked in the quilt for him and returned to his bed. Gluo, don't worry. No matter what happens, I will protect you. Don't steal my lines. Okay, well, good night. Good night. Gluo closed his eyes with a smile. He thought about Su Qinghan's expression just now and vaguely felt a sense of disobedience. The girl must have discovered something, but she didn't tell him. Did she think it was unnecessary or inconvenient? Gluo's thoughts were tangled in his mind. He slowly fell asleep in this kind of anxiety. Maybe it was because he had a nightmare before. Anyway, Gluo was still not very at ease when he fell asleep this time. Maybe he was worried about getting off the bus. Anyway, he woke up unexpectedly early this time. Su Qinghan? What time is it? Gluo reached out from the quilt and rubbed his eyes. He was confused for a few seconds before he received the situation around him. It's almost 6 o'clock and we will arrive at the station in about half an hour. Su Qinghan was already dressed at this time and the quilt on the bed was neatly folded. She was holding her mobile phone at this time, checking some information. After she found out that Gluo had woken up, she immediately put down her phone and walked over. Would you like some water? Thank you. Gluo took the cup and drank it all. After he finished, he tilted his head and thought about it and suddenly laughed inexplicably. Gluo, what's wrong? Nothing. I just feel that you are quite good at taking care of people. Gluo couldn't stop smiling. He happily lifted the quilt and began to put on his clothes. Su Qinghan stood by and felt that Gluo was a little puzzled, but he didn't get entangled to the end. King Han, when are we going to call the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau? Kichudi said someone will pick us up. Gluo put on his clothes and folded the quilt. When he turned around, Su Qinghan had already walked to his side and straightened the collar of his clothes. Gluo, I think we can go there directly without notifying them. Undercover? Gluo let Su Qinghan clean himself up, thinking about the difficulties and benefits of the two of them in the past. Maoan village is not easy to find. Let's get lost again. It's okay, just ask more. After Su Qinghan tidied Gluo's clothes, he took a step back, looked carefully, and nodded with satisfaction. Facing the girl's gaze, Gluo showed a crackling smile, which made the girl laugh. Gluo, stop being weird. Let's talk business. If we go there secretly, although we can't get official support, it will be easier to get involved, and we won't be on guard. Get involved. Gluo knew that Su Qinghan must have found something. He raised his eyebrows in confusion, but unfortunately Su Qinghan didn't tell him. This is a flaw I found. I can't tell you. How about we compete to see who can solve this matter faster? Okay, I'm Conan Lin. How can I be afraid of you? Gluo naturally wouldn't refute Su Qinghan's idea. It's just a little interest between lovers. There's nothing to be shy about. Then you have to work harder. Su Qinghan has already started packing up her belongings and getting ready to get off the train. Gluo snorted proudly and quickly packed up his things. In late spring and early summer, the days are long and the nights are short. After 6 o'clock, the sky is already bright and the speed of the train is gradually slowing down. It took several minutes to enter the station. As soon as he got off the train, Gluo felt the coolness of the early morning. He and Su Qinghan did not eat on the train, but thought about finding a stall near the train station. King Han, what do you want to eat for breakfast? Let's eat something light. Then noodles. Gluo reached out to carry Su Qinghan's backpack, but the girl smiled and avoided his help. Let's go, have breakfast. The food is not light. I'm not that delicate. Okay. Gluo did not do anything extra. He walked to Su Qinghan, took her hand, and followed the crowd leisurely. If we compare the distance traveled on a single wheel, Su Qinghan would definitely beat Gluo. After all, she had been traveling around the country and hiding abroad. However, if we compare the research on food, Su Qinghan is not as good as Gluo. She was running around to hide, while Gluo was wandering around the country, and most of the time he was just traveling on a budget. For breakfast, the two of them finally chose an unremarkable noodle soup restaurant. Gluo smelled the good taste of the soup at the door, and when it was served, he was a little surprised. Well, not bad, almost catching up with my cooking skills. Gluo, stop bragging, okay? You can't compare to the master chef. As Sukinghan and Gluo got closer, they spent more and more time together and smiled more and more. Gluo sat opposite her and did not refute her words, but ate 5 bowls of noodles in a row just because of her smile. Chapter 363, Casual Clothes. Gluo and Sukinghan had a very filling breakfast. They ate 11 bowls of noodles in total. Finally, the waiter looked at them with a strange look, and the two walked out of the noodle shop leisurely. Kinghan, how do we go now? Gluo took out his mobile phone and looked for a long time, but he couldn't find where Maoan village was. Sukinghan was not worried about getting lost at all. He pulled Gluo into a milk tea shop and ordered 2 large cups of smoothies early in the morning. We just had breakfast. It's not good to eat cold. Gluo tried to show his gentleness of drink more hot water, but Sukinghan rolled her eyes without caring, which was so cute that Gluo wanted to hold her face and kiss her. We are in good health, don't be afraid. Sukinghan held the large cup of smoothie like a little squirrel eating pine nuts, sucking it in her cheeks until her cheeks bulged. Gluo pulled her hand, pinched her palm, and then let her pull him. To be honest, although Gluo has traveled all over the country, he is actually a little directionally challenged. However, Gluo was very good at remembering the route. He might not be able to find the destination, but he could definitely return by the original route. However, at this time, Sukinghan seemed to be testing Gluo. He led him through twists and turns, constantly weaving through the streets and alleys, and finally arrived at the bus station inexplicably. Kinghan, this bus station is trying to hide itself. How did you find it? Asked Sukinghan had already finished her big cup of smoothie at this time. She threw away the empty cup casually, as casual as a swordsman sheathing his sword. Huh? Who are you asking? Gluo had only drunk half a cup of smoothie when he shook it at Sukinghan. The girl was stunned for a moment and finally reached out to take it. Master of the Rebirth Hall. Although Sukinghan and Gluo had kissed before, this kind of no disgust obviously represented a deeper level of acceptance. Oh, that greedy little hacker. Gluo only remembered this person at this time. The head of the Wansheng Hall was an old money grubber. That guy asked for money for everything Gluo asked her to do, and sometimes the price she asked was simply outrageous. Haha Gluo, let me tell you, she always asks for a price, but she doesn't really plan that much. Her behavior, in her words, is to test the other party's IQ. Gluo turned his head speechlessly. Sukinghan, who was holding a straw in his mouth, blinked and did not hurt Gluo's self-esteem at all. That money grubber, wait for me, I won't let her go. Gluo could already imagine how stupid his previous behavior of not bargaining looked to the other party. It was like being slaughtered like a pig. Money is not important. The key issue is the unwillingness in IQ. Okay, let's go. It's time to get on the bus. Sukinghan looked at Gluo's unwilling look, hesitated for a moment, and kissed him sideways. Gluo turned his head and showed a horrified expression of being molested, which made the girl giggle, and then pulled him onto the bus. Poor me, I didn't protect myself well, and was molested by you. Gluo was held by Sukinghan's hand and sat down in a seat at the back. He looked at the girl's smiling face and was actually very happy in his heart, but in order to create an effect, he still pretended to be unhappy. You are so shameless. Sukinghan is now more and more relaxed and natural in front of Gluo. After all, she is only 19 years old this year. The vitality and youth of the girl are like a burning flame on her body. Do you like it? Gluo turned his head and suddenly kissed Sukinghan's ear, then whispered to her. The girl's earlobe instantly turned red. She turned her head and glared at Gluo, but still nodded. It's okay. Is it so makeshift? It's good enough to make do. What else do you want? I want to go to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the Sunday. Gluo now likes the feeling of whispering to Sukinghan. The two of them sat in the corner of the bus and didn't notice that more and more people were getting on the bus. When the bus started, GLUO and Su Kinghan found that the bus was full of people in less than 10 minutes. Kinghan, is this bus really going to Mayon Village? Are you sure? The professional information given by the hacker, how can it be wrong? Why are there so many people? GLUO didn't care before, but now he really feels something is wrong. My goodness, a bus with 40 or 50 people was full in more than 10 minutes. Is this reasonable? What's even more weird is that the people on the bus are smart and strong. Obviously not good people. Some of them are carrying camping equipment, and GLUO even saw a Loang shovel. Kinghan, I understand a little bit. Yeah. Su Kinghan was busy flirting with GLUO just now, and now he focused on the analysis, and soon got the answer. Obviously, this group of people are not ordinary. Their equipment is obviously not for visiting relatives or returning to their hometown. The news is exposed. Kinghan, is it possible? GLUO leaned close to Su Kinghan's ear and made a circle. Su Kinghan quickly reacted, hesitated for a moment, and shook his head. It shouldn't be an official leak. That's fine. I'm not afraid of wild souls. I'm afraid of people. Although GLUO believed in Kichudi, he was always on guard against the 19th Bureau of the National Security. To this day, GLUO doesn't know how he filed with the 19th Bureau of the National Security, but it is definitely not all good information. However, GLUO didn't worry too much about himself. After all, he was still law-abiding. There were so many people who made trouble, and the Hangman banquet should not be held against him. The real trouble is Su Kinghan. Her name of Frost Disaster is very famous. Wherever she goes, not only no grass grows, but also the ground is in a mess. In the little notebook of the National Security Bureau 19, Su Kinghan is definitely noted down. We must be on guard. It's okay. I'm very powerful now. Su Kinghan's performance is so calm. It's not that she is confident, but she doesn't take the National Security Bureau 19 seriously at all. So strong. GLUO looked at Su Kinghan sideways, wondering if he missed something. Before, GLUO could still steal death return from Su Kinghan. However, since the Jiangyuan incident, GLUO could no longer feel Su Kinghan's ability. Now the two hold hands every day, and there is no trace of the original talent at all. Don't worry, I'm fine. Just take care of yourself. Su Kinghan knew that GLUO was worried about her, so she kept reminding GLUO that she could protect herself and he should pay more attention to himself and pay attention to his own safety. Kinghan, you are so arrogant. What preparations have you made? Well, learn to draw talismans? Su Kinghan was actually joking with GLUO, but she didn't expect that the person sitting behind her would suddenly interrupt her. Drawing talismans is nonsense. It's a lie. You guys are not well prepared. Chapter 364. Wang Fuching. The world is in turmoil now, so you can't be careless. When you go out, you must be prepared. The person who spoke was a slightly fat man, not tall, but his voice was very confident. He didn't know if he had been out for a long time. His skin was slightly dark, his face was square, and he looked quite wealthy. This big brother, you are. GLUO glanced at Su Kinghan, implying that she was the one who caused the trouble. Su Kinghan didn't look like she cared, but in fact her right hand had reached GLUO's waist and twisted it slightly. His GLUO took a breath of cold air. Su Kinghan was indeed a martial arts fighter. The twisting position was really accurate, which made him feel pain and sore. The man in the backseat of Su Kinghan obviously didn't notice the flirting between the two. He secretly glanced at Su Kinghan and slapped his palm on his thigh, looking heroic. My name is Wang Fuching. I'm an outer disciple of Maoshan, and I practice the art of all things. Maoshan disciple. GLUO pretended to be surprised, giving Wang Fuching full vanity. Anyone can see that Wang Fuching was amazed by Su Kinghan again. It is unknown what he is planning, but he definitely wants to get attention. GLUO actually feels okay with this kind of person. After all, Su Kinghan is so beautiful, the kind that everyone loves. If GLUO is jealous of everyone he sees, he really can't do anything else all day. Brother Wang, does the Maoshan sect really exist? Of course. The Maoshan sect is also known as the Shanking sect. It is a long-standing and upright sect. After casting a spell on the paper talisman, it can drive away ghosts and demons. It's magical. Wang Fucheng slapped his chest, and the gold chain around his neck trembled twice. With Wang Fucheng's appearance, some people would believe that he was a gangster, but who would believe that he was a Taoist disciple from the outer sect? That's not right. Anyway, Jialuo believed it. He pretended to be interested and winked at Su Qinghan. Su Qinghan knew that Jialuo was going to be funny again, and couldn't help but smile. As a result, Su Qinghan's smile surprised Wang Fucheng. He hurriedly tilted his head back, as if to adjust his mood. Jialuo looked at Wang Fucheng's shot look, avoided his gaze, and pouted. Su Qinghan stretched out his hand to rub the place where Jialuo had just pinched, so that the dissatisfaction on Jialuo's face disappeared. Little kid. Su Qinghan made a mouth shape, but no sound came out. Jialuo moved his elbow down, held Su Qinghan's hand on her waist, and pinched her palm again. On the other side, Wang Fucheng did not notice Jialuo and the other small movements. He gathered his mind again, coughed twice, and tried to erase his embarrassment just now. You must have heard of the name Mao Xiaofang. He is my great uncle. Mao Xiaofang? Isn't that the same as the corpse driving in Xiangxi? Jialuo made an interested expression, but actually just wanted to ask questions. Wang Fucheng is also quite funny. He always mentions Mao Xiaofang. Isn't that a character in the movie? What is he thinking? No, little brother, that's different. Wang Fucheng saw that he had aroused the interest of the young couple in the front seat, and he couldn't help but feel happy in his heart, and spoke more firmly. Corpse driving is corpse driving. Maotian Taoism is Maotian Taoism, and the Five Thunders Law, do you know? That's our sect's unique skill. Brother Wang, do you know the Five Thunders Law? Su Qinghan had a curious expression on her face at this time, but in fact, she had seen through Wang Fucheng. This person doesn't even have the original talent, let alone the source power. He is just an ordinary person. Alas, it's a pity that I'm not talented, I'm not good at learning, and I didn't get the true teachings of my master. I only learned the art of all things. The art of all things? Su Qinghan blinked and winked at Jialuo, who shook his head to indicate that he had never heard of it before. The art of all things means to encompass all things with the body. It is mainly to temper the body and act on it. Wang Fucheng showed a proud expression, having solved the mystery he had deliberately set up. Unfortunately, unlike what he imagined, Jialuo and Su Qinghan both looked calm and did not show any surprise. Ahem. Brother Wang, you just said that the world is not peaceful. What's going on? Are all the people from the famous sects starting to come out? Jialuo could be said to have put a lot of thought into what Wang Fucheng said. The face he gave was just right, making Wang Fucheng want to talk. I saw that you two were careless and not careful at all, so I couldn't help but remind you. Don't say that Brother Wang didn't remind you. This train is not easy to go. If you should turn back early. Brother Wang, what's the matter? Jialuo twisted his body and leaned his cheek back. Wang Fucheng showed an unfathomable smile and shook his head, as if he was a child who could not be taught. Little brother, don't play tricks on me. Normally, this train is not full, not even 1/3 of the people are there, but now look. Wang Fucheng pointed around with his finger. The people around him kept their eyes closed and didn't say anything. It seemed that they were used to Wang Fucheng's bragging. The news about Maoan village has spread. There is a weird ancient tomb next to it. The things inside are all. Wang Fucheng said this, probably to show off his ability. But to be honest, although he talked so much, there were not many useful words, so his companions didn't stop him. Brother Wang, so you are too. My name is Jialuo, and this is my girlfriend, Su Qinghan. Jialuo patted his head at this time, as if blaming himself for forgetting to introduce. After listening to it, Wang Fucheng nodded seriously, as if he was very satisfied with Jialuo's confession. Jialuo, I see that you and your girlfriend are not very old, but you are just talking big because of your age. It's not easy to get involved in this matter. You should go back. Brother Wang, we are just curious and want to go for a walk. We didn't think about exploring any ancient tombs. Hey, that's not true, right? Turn around and ask the people in this car. Who doesn't want to make a fortune in the ancient tombs? Otherwise, why would they take a car to the mountains to feed mosquitoes? Wang Fucheng raised his voice slightly at this time. The people around him looked over. Luo showed a shy look. He looked around and found that the people in the car were really varied. There were elderly people who were calm and composed, middle-aged people who were as stable as Mount Tay, young people with strong backs and waists, and even a young and beautiful girl. Although everyone's appearance was very different, they had one thing in common. Everyone carried a large travel bag and their palms were vaguely placed in the place where they could react the fastest. Obviously, they were all capable people. Luo, listen to me and follow the car back later. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365, Liu Fangsu. Although Wang Fucheng spoke in a rather loud tone, it must be admitted that what he said made sense. Unfortunately, he was talking to the wrong person. Luo and Su Qinghan did not respond to this, but just smiled. Alas, you kids are really young and fearless. You don't even understand the ins and outs of things, but you dare to lean on this. The reason why Wang Fucheng first started talking must be because of Su Qinghan's appearance. He might have been amazed and wanted to show off. Or maybe he thought it was a pity for Luo and Su Qinghan to die like this, so he tried to persuade them to go back. Brother Wang, it's okay. We won't go to the mountains at that time. We will stay in the village and wait for you to come back. Luo scratched his hair and looked very embarrassed. Wang Fucheng sighed, but did not persuade him. Good words can't persuade the damned ghost, and he won't cry until he sees the coffin. Luo, I'm telling you, the village is not safe anymore. Wang Fucheng used to speak carelessly, but at this time, he finally wanted to tell Luo and the others some secrets, so he leaned forward and lowered his voice. People have actually started dying in Maoan village a long time ago. I got news that 3 months ago, a man in Maoan village died of unknown causes, and his death was extremely miserable. I suspect that the man was the first to discover the tomb, but unfortunately he was incompetent and acted arrogantly. Not only did he not get anything, but he also died tragically at the foot of the mountain after running out. I guess, at that time, no one knew about the tomb, and everyone thought it was a wild beast coming down the mountain, so the matter was dragged over. If it weren't for the death of another person, it would probably have been covered up. The news Wang Fucheng said was really crucial. Although Luo and Su Qinghan had read the information from the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau, they really didn't expect that a man had died abnormally 3 months ago. Brother Wang, who died again? Who else could it be? Someone related to that man. His daughter. Wang Fugi showed a look of pity, not knowing whether he felt sorry for the death of a little girl or the spread of the news. Brother Wang, why did I hear that the little girl just disappeared? Luo, do you think it's such a coincidence? 3 months ago, her father died, and more than a month later, her daughter went to the mountains to play and disappeared. She disappeared. Is it possible? Many people probably knew what Wang Fugi said, so he just lowered his voice and didn't stop talking about it. Little brother, I guess that before he died, the man left something that gave a clue. His daughter was curious about the cause of her father's death, so she went into the mountains. Such a young child, what does she know about danger? She went into the mountains and never came out. Think about it, all the men, women, and children in the village went to look for her, but couldn't find her. Could she have simply disappeared? It's been a month and a half now. Where is she? She's missing, so she must be dead, and there's no trace of her body. So, that mountain is not safe, and the village is not safe either. People will die. Wang Fugi's analysis was something Luo had not thought of before, so he listened very carefully. Su Qinghan also had a thoughtful expression and confirmed the information from the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau. Brother Wang, I haven't heard of the little girl. The news I heard was that there was a young man with a lot of jade in his hands. Luo made a gesture of grabbing something. Wang Fugi nodded and said to himself that he understood what Luo meant. Luo, you are very smart. You don't go to dangerous places, but stay in the village, waiting for us to risk our lives, and come back with good things. You pay for the things on the spot, and then wrestle them. What a good idea. I'm afraid of death, so I'm doing small business. GLUO didn't know what Wang Fucheng was thinking. He came up with this answer in his mind, but GLUO didn't refute it, and agreed to it. After all, this is also an explanation. GLUO and the other person came here, which is completely different from the others. This kind of eccentricity is easy to be targeted. It would be much better if there is a serious reason. Hey, I was thinking, such a beautiful girlfriend is not something that ordinary poor boys can afford. Wang Fucheng's imagination was already flying at this time. The reason why Su Qinghan fell in love with GLUO turned directly into money. GLUO just chuckled and turned to look at Su Qinghan. The girl wrinkled her nose and raised her hand to hit his shoulder. The force was not strong, and it was obviously a coquettish act. GLUO, since you and your girlfriend are not going into the mountains, then there is no need for me to hide anything. To be honest, the young man died of greed in the end, otherwise he would be fine. Brother Wang, what do you mean? GLUO is now addicted to pretending. He opened his backpack, took out a bottle of water, opened it for Wang Fucheng, and handed it over attentively, very politely. Thank you. Wang Fucheng had a very satisfied expression. He gulped down half a bottle and began to give advice again. GLUO, I think you heard that the young man found the tomb when he was looking for the little girl. The first time he only took a piece of ancient jade and sold it for more than 100,000. When he saw the return money, he became unstable. He went a second time, even though he knew there was danger. This time he took a jade hairpin and sold it at a higher price. I heard it was 300,000. Two things. How much could he earn from farming for decades? He became greedy. When someone tried to persuade him for information, he didn't tell anyone. Instead, he went there secretly for the third time. This time, it's over. GLUO had heard the information that Wang Fugi told him at this time, but he didn't show it. He just had an expression, as if he was enlightened. Brother Wang, where did you get this information? It's all inside information, hahaha. It's just a coincidence. We have information channels in our line of work. Wang Fugi seemed unwilling to say anything about the channel, and GLUO did not press him. At this time, the person who had been sitting next to Wang Fugi also opened his eyes, obviously unwilling to let Wang Fugi continue. Ahem. GLUO, Su Qinghan, this is my senior brother, Liu Fangzhu. Wang Fugi seemed to be very afraid of his senior brother, so he only introduced the person and stopped talking. Liu Fangzhu looked dark and thin, much older than Wang Fugi, probably over 40 years old. He nodded to GLUO, but he was not particularly arrogant. Hello, brother Liu. Seeing that the other party was unwilling to talk more, GLUO did not continue to probe. To be honest, it was a bit of a pity. GLUO really wanted to know who announced the news. It was obviously the National Security Bureau 19 that intervened and did a dangerous incident that was kept secret. How come the news started to fly all over the sky in the blink of an eye, as if everyone knew it? You see, one by one, they all think they are capable people and want to make a lot of money with their own skills. It's just courting death. Chapter 366, The Reverse Side. GLUO has not forgotten that when the National Security Bureau 19 first received the report, it dispatched 2 bronze rank evolvers. Let's not brag about other things, just talk about combat power. Anyway, except for GLUO and Su Qinghan, the others in this car, tied together, are not enough to fight 2 evolvers. You know, they are not ordinary evolvers, they are professional players of the National Security Bureau 19, all trained elites. Even if they die, they should not disappear silently. What's more, after 2 bronze rank evolvers went there, one disappeared silently, and the information reported by the other was directly reported to the Zheojing headquarters. The answer after that was to directly send out the captain of the elite team of the assault department, and the local side was ordered to prohibit sending people for support. This is worth pondering. The meaning is very clear. No matter how many people the locals send, they will die. If they can't solve the problem, don't send them. It's so turbulent. Seeing that Wang Fucheng stopped talking, GLUO stopped trying. Sukinghan also turned his head and put his head on Gluo's shoulder quite intimately. Are you scared? Scared? Just kidding. I'm super brave. Gluo naturally put his arm around Sukinghan's shoulders. The two looked quite intimate, and their conversation became like a couple's gossip. Gluo, where do you think the information was leaked from? It's not from the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau. There's nothing about it in my information. Gluo now recalled the information he had read before, and he had a different judgment on the whole thing. The information from the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau was basically the results of the investigation of the two agents, but the things that were circulated outside were more than what they had investigated, so it was worthy of suspicion. Kinghan, who do you think spread the news? Huh? Your expression is a little obvious. Did you guess it? Sukinghan was already lying on Gluo's lap at this time. Gluo bent over and chatted with her, and other people couldn't hear. Then tell me all that. Once Gluo didn't believe it. Sukinghan hadn't guessed that there were only a few people who knew this, and those who had the ability to spread the news so widely were obviously not from the village. The jade buyer. Antique shop. The people that Gluo and Sukinghan thought of overlapped perfectly. The geographical location of Maoan village determined that it had few contacts with the outside world. Such an organized information dissemination must be done by professionals. Gluo, why do you think they spread this kind of news? From the results, once this news was announced, all kinds of people ran to Maoan village to find ancient tombs. What's the use of this? Gluo thought about it carefully, and he didn't get any benefit from this matter. Normally, if he knew something good, he should do it quietly by himself. Why would he tell others with great fanfare? Here to promote the development of tourism in Maoan village? Sukinghan said this is a joke, of course. She and Gluo looked at each other, with doubts in their eyes. Generally speaking, the more inexplicable the behavior, the more evil intentions hidden behind it, which makes people's backs cold. Kinghan, why didn't the 19th National Security Bureau block the road? Maoan villages like that, but they still let so many people go. Aren't they afraid of something bad happening? Gluo actually didn't know much about the official code of conduct. He simply looked at it from his own perspective. In fact, this car of people who were just joining in the fun could be blocked outside. It's not that simple to block the road. In today's society, with the internet, the more things are covered up, the more profitable they feel. You mean, those secret websites? Gluo was still very interested in this kind of secret website, but unfortunately he didn't know the method, and he didn't have a guide, so he was still in the dark. Sukinghan looked at Gluo's interested expression, and knew what he was thinking. The girl raised her hand, and touched the outline of his cheek, and her smile was indescribably gentle. The girl's skin was as white as jade, without any flaws. Although her hair color was eye-catching, in today's society, everyone thought she was unique and just cosplaying the second dimension. Therefore, the eyes of others on Sukinghan are mostly admiration. Although Gluo has a good appearance, out of jealousy, others can't help but want to belittle him. Of course, Sukinghan will not worry about these. She understands Gluo and knows his strengths and weaknesses. It is precisely because of this that she likes him. Gluo, the world of evolvers is full of intrigues and deceptions. It is a bloody and cruel inside. Most of the evolvers have power, but they are forced to hide. They are restless and do not miss any opportunity. Some are for money, some for power, and some are simply for terror. I will remember it. Gluo understood what Sukinghan meant. She was telling him that it was not that she would not take him to contact the inside world of the evolvers, but that the world was really not beautiful. As long as he mixed in, he would be drawn into the vortex and could not be at peace. Everything he has now would be destroyed. Kinghan, after we arrive at Maoan village, should we contact the National Security Bureau 19th Bureau? It depends on the situation. I think it's better to hide our identities for the time being and wait and see. Sukinghan put her lips to Gluo's ear, looking like a girlfriend acting coquettishly to her boyfriend. Gluo nodded and rubbed his nose against hers. Okay, but I think, if he is in danger, we can't just ignore it. Okay. Sukinghan understood what Gluo meant. Although the two of them were handling things on behalf of Kichudi, they were not members of the National Security Bureau 19th Bureau. In theory, they could have no scruples and just wanted to solve the incident. However, GLUO considered the problems between Sukinghan and the National Security Bureau 19th Bureau, and he wanted to do a big favor for the other party. In other words, as long as the National Security Bureau 19th Bureau was in danger, no matter what the situation was, the two of them had to take action. The bottom line is that no one can die. GLUO, don't worry so much. This incident is not a big deal. I hope so. GLUO closed his eyes and nodded gently. Sukinghan looked at his tired look and felt a little distressed. GLUO, are you sleepy? Yeah, I had a nightmare last night. I'm a little tired. Then take a nap. Sukinghan pretended to get up, but GLUO pushed him back. I want to hold you while I sleep. Okay. Sukinghan knew that GLUO was having a childish temper again, so he agreed and didn't get up. GLUO, are you scared? Scared? GLUO had already closed his eyes at this time. He suddenly felt a little sleepy, a little like the kind of person who would fall asleep as soon as he touched the pillow. What are you afraid of? Afraid that you would leave. Chapter 367. Cloudy day. The bus was not driving very fast on the highway. It was almost an hour before it completely left the city. Then there was a deserted countryside. About half an hour later, the mountain road officially began. When we were in the city before, the sun was still shining brightly, but as soon as the bus entered the mountain road, the sky darkened. At first, no one felt anything unusual, and they just thought that it was easy to be cloudy because of the high humidity and low clouds in the mountainous area. But as the bus continued to go in, the sky became darker and darker. When it was only half an hour away from Mayoan village, the sky had turned into night. Most of the people on the bus were not ordinary people, and there were many knowledgeable people. This abnormality was quickly taken seriously, because there might be a competitive relationship between each other. Everyone calculated their own, and was very silent with each other. But when the bus had to turn on the lights, the people on the bus finally couldn't help but communicate with each other. Well, what's wrong? GLUO had been sleeping soundly before, and was woken up at this time. Sukinghan was no longer in his arms at this time, but she was holding him instead. It's not a big deal, it's just dark. Dark. GLUO opened his eyes, looked at the scenery outside, and was instantly awakened. I slept for 7 or 8 hours? No, just 2 hours. Sukinghan looked calm at this time, as if the abnormality of the sky was as insignificant as rain in her eyes. 2 hours? GLUO took out his mobile phone and took a look, then looked out the window, even suspecting that he was a little sleepy. What's the situation? Have you ever seen the time when the sun was shining brightly at noon and it turned into a pitch black night? Kinghan, what's going on? GLUO can be regarded as having seen big scenes. He has entered the realm world of the 6th gold level wild soul. It is a world that is fictional, but the same as the real world. However, at that time, the impact on the surroundings was not so great. Brother GLUO, don't be afraid, it's not a big deal. Wang Fucheng suddenly interrupted at this time and comforted GLUO. He sat on the chair calmly with his hands behind his chest, and he was confident. This cloudy day is caused by evil spirits. Although it looks scary, it is just borrowing the power of the time and the earth. Not a big deal. When GLUO heard Wang Fucheng was going to popularize science again, he immediately turned around and made an interested expression. But what GLUO didn't expect was that the person who explained it to him next was indeed Wang Fucheng's senior brother. Mayoan village is located in the mountains. The terrain is low and surrounded by mountains. It is easy to raise clouds and rain. The evil spirit just used some tricks to make the clouds gather between the surrounding mountains and block the sunlight, so it is so dark. Although Liu Fang's who looks dark and thin, his voice is not cold, but very attractive. GLUO stopped his explanation and looked at Sukinghan. Seeing the girl nodded slightly, he clapped his hands, as if he had just woken up from a dream. So that's it. It's nothing more than the sunlight being blocked. It's no big deal. GLUO sighed with a guilty look. He took out his mobile phone and tried to make a call, but found that not only was there no network, but there was no signal. Brother Wang, Brother Liu, can this evil spirit block the signal? Of course not, but Wang Fucheng sighed helplessly, obviously not considering this situation. But it can destroy the signal tower. This is true. Luo thought too much about the supernatural situation and did not think about normal means at all. After Wang Fucheng's explanation, he felt embarrassed. The signal tower has been destroyed, so there is really no way to contact the outside world. Alas, it's okay to be unable to contact the outside world. Such a cunning evil spirit may have more unbearable means. Wang Fucheng showed a worried look, and it was not known whether he was pretending or really felt that the situation was tricky. At this time, not only Luo and the other four were communicating, but the other people in the car were also thinking about the situation. The driver looked at the winding mountain road in front of him and had no idea, so he simply stopped the car. Dear passengers, the situation ahead is a bit weird. Let's not go to Maoan village and go back the same way. In this case, it's not the driver's fault for being timid. He has been driving this road for more than 10 years and has never seen such a weird situation. He has old people and children to take care of. How can he not be afraid? However, the driver's idea was ultimately unsuccessful. None of the people in this car were normal. Everyone was rushing to the ancient tombs and treasures. It's not that everyone hasn't encountered weird situations before. What's so scary about it? Comrade driver, Maoan village is just ahead. You can take us there and go back the same way. What's there to be afraid of? It's just a little dark. I met a ghost in the mountains last year. The fog didn't dissipate for 3 days and 3 nights. Without 3 or 2, who dares to go to Liangshan? Since everyone is going to Maoan village, they all have means. Don't be afraid, driver, everything can be solved. A group of passengers talked a lot, and the driver's explanation that he had prepared was directly suppressed. He had no choice but to nod and agree, and continue driving forward. Wang Fucheng looked out the window at this time. His expression was no longer as casual as before. The heavy clouds blocked the sunlight. It was noon, but it was like midnight outside. It was really scary. It must have been a rough journey. Brother Wang, what happened? Luo was surprised. What did Wang Fucheng see? Luo was at least a black iron rank second evolver. He could see something in such a dark situation, but he didn't find anything abnormal. What was Wang Fucheng worried about? Brother Luo, you don't know enough. You know, there is only one mountain road to Maoan village. The current situation is like inviting someone into a trap. That monster is pulling people. Luo's mind raced, and he immediately got this answer after thinking about the previous analysis. No wonder the 19th Bureau kept the investigation confidential, and there were all kinds of news flying around. What's more outrageous is that these news are more accurate than the 19th Bureau. It's obvious that the dissipation was spread by the mastermind behind it. Now it seems that his first goal is to get people to gather in Maoan village. You have a big appetite. Liu Fang's who gave people the impression that he was very silent, but he was not silent either. Instead, he spoke directly to the key point. Liu Fang's whose simple 4 words suddenly made the atmosphere between the 4 people stagnate. Everyone knew what this meant, but no one pointed it out. Wild souls are monsters that feed on the souls of living beings. In their eyes, human souls are even more precious delicacies. And now, it has set up a plan to gather a kind of delicacy around, obviously intending to feast on it. Boom. Chapter 368, Mudslide. The dark night covered by clouds, with the sound of thunder, instantly illuminated the sky. The mountains and fields were deserted. Everyone in the bus looked out the window and fell silent. It's going to rain. Su Qinghan looked at the earthen hill not far away and frowned slightly. Luo held her hand, and their palms were close together, sharing each other's body temperature. I hate rain, damp. Luo was also a little nervous at this time. In the current situation, not only him, but probably everyone in the bus, has already noticed that this might be a trap. Such a thick cloud layer is obviously not something that can be done in a day or 2, and the thunderstorm coming at this time is just like a hunter closing the net. Wow wow wow. After the thunder, the heavy rain began. The bus driver muttered and started the car. In the dark rain curtain, a layer of water curtain had appeared on the car window. The bus that was noisy just now has become silent. Everyone's mind began to tighten. From the initial big effort, it became a matter of time. The humming sound of the engine was particularly clear at this time, and the crackling sound of the rain blocked all the noise outside. Sukinghan looked out the window for a while, and then stopped paying attention to it, and leaned his forehead on Gluo's shoulder. Gluo, I don't hate this situation now. Really? Gluo stretched out his arms, and hugged Sukinghan's shoulders, feeling her body temperature, that was slightly lower than that of ordinary people. The impatience and uneasiness in his heart just now slowly disappeared. Really, it's raining heavily outside. You are by my side. I'm in your arms. The environment is small. I'm a little worried, but also very relieved. When you say that, I'm also very happy. Gluo put his chin on the girl's head. His body was very relaxed. Sukinghan has always been an independent and strong image, but at this time, Sukinghan has a soft temperament. This contrast from the usual days made Gluo's attachment to her even more entangled, just like being stranded on a desert island. In addition to each other, there is nothing else in the world worth relying on and trusting. Kinghan, what do you think the mastermind behind this is like? Gluo combed the girl's long hair with his hands. Sukinghan's hair was smooth and soft, and I felt a cool touch in my hands, which was very comfortable. It is obviously a wild soul who has the intelligence to set such a trap. In terms of rank, it can create such weather, at least 4th silver rank. Can a 4th silver rank wild soul do this? Gluo has killed a 4th silver rank evolver with his own hands. Wild souls and wild beasts are definitely stronger than evolvers of the same rank, but they can't be this strong. It's really impossible with just ability, but Sukinghan seemed a little undecided. She hesitated for a moment, and just as she was about to continue, she suddenly heard a loud noise outside the car. Boom rumble. The sound was like the sound of waves hitting the shore. It was not a direct explosion, but a gradual rise in the flow. What's wrong? What happened? Something seems to have happened outside. The passengers in the car became uneasy. Some tried to look out the window, but it was too dark and the accident seemed a little far away. Gluo had already stood up at this time. He pressed his cheek against the window, so that others could not see the light in his pupils. After using the source power, Gluo was able to see the situation farther away. On the low slope of the earthen hill, brown water and earth and rocks fell, blocking the retreat of the bus. Mudslide? After confirming the situation, Gluo immediately sat back in his seat. The others on the bus were still in chaos, but because they were too far away, they did not see the specific situation after all. It seems that there was a landslide in the place we just passed. Landslide? Doesn't that mean the way back is blocked? And the cell phone can't be used? What are you afraid of? We'll be in Mayoan village soon. There's everything in the village. We just need to wait for the road to open. The people in the car analyzed it all at once. Some of them showed worried expressions, but some still didn't care. Wang Fuchen was already a little anxious at this time, but his senior brother Liu Fangsu next to him was always calm. They are so brave, aren't they afraid? Gluo hugged his girlfriend again. Sukinghan rolled his eyes at him, as if to say that he was too cautious. This world is abnormal, and it has been discovered by more and more people. There are a lot of monsters and demons. The tide of source power is rising, and humans have embarked on the road of evolution. I feel that I have been ignorant in the past few years. Gluo awakened his original talent 10 years ago. After that, he wandered around every day, trying to find other evolvers, but he has achieved nothing in all these years. However, after meeting Sukinghan, the evolvers jumped up one by one, making people feel that the evolvers are everywhere. Ordinary people and evolvers are actually clearly divided from each other. Under the heavy pressure of the country, they can only hide, but now, they can't wait to go on stage. Sukinghan's voice became low as he spoke, and Gluo nodded and stopped talking. At this time, the people in the car also agreed to the battle line, or in other words, in this situation, everyone had no choice. The driver, who was still frightened before, also relaxed at this time, not because the situation had improved, but because Mayoan village was about to arrive. The mountain road was built a bit winding, and the speed of the car gradually slowed down. Not far away, the village could be vaguely seen. But what was disturbing was that the lights in the village were very scarce, and under the cover of the rain, it even gave people an illusion that they were about to go out. The power outage in Mayoan village? Is it because of the heavy rain? The power outage is just a coincidence. The signal tower was destroyed, and the way back was blocked by mudslides. Now there is no electricity in the village. I said it was a coincidence. Do you believe it? Perhaps because of the irritability, the people in the car no longer wanted to give in, and there was even a strong man with a bad temper who wanted to fight. But fortunately, these people were not alone, and both sides had people traveling with them. In this crisis, no one wanted to start a fight again, and the angry strong man was pulled aside. We are here in Mayoan village. The driver turned the steering wheel at this time, and the car began to turn slowly. Under the overwhelming rain, the entrance to the village was already faintly visible. Our warm journey seems to be coming to an end. Sukinghan straightened up and took down the backpacks of the two from the shelf. Gluo took over his backpack and was about to carry the bag for Sukinghan, but was stopped by her. Waved her hand. It's raining so hard outside. Be careful and use an umbrella. I'm very strong now. Don't worry, okay? Chapter 369. Injury. In the bright lights, the shadows of people in the rain were dim. The driver had stopped the car, but had not opened the door yet. Plop, plop, plop. The footsteps of the water gradually approached, and an old man's face appeared in sight. The driver seemed to recognize the person, and opened the door directly. Uncle G, what's going on in the village? A piece of the hillside collapsed. The power transmission cable was broken, and the whole village was without power. It can't be repaired. The old man was wearing a dark old raincoat and boots. After getting in the car, the water flowed down his raincoat. Ziotan, someone in the village was injured. Can you take them to the city quickly? Uncle G, there seems to be a mudslide on the hillside. The road is blocked, and the car can't go. The driver looked helpless at this time. If possible, he wanted to go back immediately, but the road was blocked, and there was no way to contact the city. He could only wait for rescue. However, there is no need to worry too much. A bus will be sent out every hour from the town. It will soon find out the situation of the road and carry out emergency repairs. Ziotan, what should we do? Is there a doctor on the bus? The old man surnamed G was a little anxious at this time. He looked around and everyone in the car was silent. Everyone came back to dig for treasure. How could there be any doctors? On the contrary, everyone is very good at fighting and is a ruthless person. But just when the situation was at a loss, Sukinghan beside Gluo suddenly stood up and raised his arm. My mother is a doctor. I know a little bit of medical skills. Is it okay? Yes. That's great. The old man didn't expect that there would really be a doctor. He walked down immediately and seemed to be leading the way. Uncle G, slow down. How can I arrange for all the people in my car? No problem. Let Kidaneo come over later. There are a lot of empty houses in the village. I will definitely be able to arrange it. The old man stood in the rain. His voice sounded a little weak. It was obvious that he had been anxious for a long time. Now he was relieved and couldn't hold it anymore. On the other side, Gluo didn't expect Sukinghan to play the doctor game, so he could only follow her to the bottom of the car. When passing by the driver reminded him, this is Uncle G, the village chief of Mayoan village. Uncle G is a very good person. He will definitely arrange it for you. Yeah. Gluo didn't say much nonsense. He opened his umbrella in the rain and blocked Sukinghan for a while. The girl then opened her umbrella, and the two followed the old village chief side by side. Nizzy, boy, be careful. There are puddles on the ground. The old village chief seemed to know that Gluo and the others didn't want to walk with him, so he walked a little ahead. He was holding a flashlight and his steps were not fast. The ground in the village didn't seem to be very flat. He occasionally stumbled and looked very dangerous. The shoes are ruined. Gluo and Sukinghan stuck together, supporting each other. The road conditions in Mayoan village were really bad. When it rained heavily, there was not only mud and water everywhere, but also like small traps. Gluo was terrified. As dusk fell, the heavy rain seemed to drown the whole world. Luo and Su Qinghen's shoes were soon filled with water. What was more troublesome was that, even though they were holding umbrellas, their clothes were still very wet. The only thing to be thankful for was that the backpack was waterproof, so the clothes inside must be fine, and there were still some to change. Hold on a little longer, we'll be there soon. The old village chief was obviously very familiar with the road. Although he walked slowly, there were no accidents. Luo and Su Qinghen soon saw the houses in the village. They were all ordinary bricks and tiles. They were not shabby, but not new either. And I was also injured. She was seriously injured. The doctors in the village were useless. We tried everything, but it didn't work. We can only ask for help from you. The old village chief was already exhausted and panting, but he still forced himself to explain. He couldn't hold it in. It was so heavy that he couldn't hear it, even if he was close. I tried my best to save people, but I don't know if I can succeed. Su Qinghen also became a drowned chicken at this time, but she was still in high spirits. Luo supported her and felt strange. No one knows why Su Qinghen suddenly wants to play the role of a doctor's child. He is really a child who thinks and acts out. However, although Su Qinghen's identity is fake, Luo is still very confident in her medical skills. After all, she is an evolver and has been through many battles. She may not be good at internal medicine, but she is definitely a top player in external injuries. Nizzy, just do your best. There is no way to treat such a serious injury. The old village chief obviously did not hold much hope. He could only say that he would do his best and leave it to fate. He led Luo and the other person through the alleys of the village and finally arrived in front of a very new 2-story building. Luo estimated that this was the only 2-story building in the village, and it could also be said to be a landmark building. On the blurred sign under the rain, the words Mayo and Village Health Center could be seen. Dr. Luo, I found a doctor in the city. The old village chief stood at the door of the health center and shouted twice before knocking on the door. It was very strange that the health center was locked at this time, and there was no one guarding the door. If a patient came, he could only be notified by shouting. Fortunately, the old village chief had a good voice. After shouting twice, a figure ran down from the 2nd floor and came to open the door. Uncle G, take care of yourself. You just had an injection and your cold hasn't healed yet. No, I'm fine. This is the doctor and this is her boyfriend. The old village chief didn't know the names of Luo and Su Qinghen yet. He greeted them in and introduced them briefly. Luo and Su Qinghen hurriedly gave their names and got to know each other. My last name is Qiu, and my name is Qiu Kyo. I'm a nurse at the health center. The nurse who opened the door had a round face and was slightly fat. She seemed to be a little lively. She looked at Su Qinghen with envy, but her tone was very intimate. Let me see the patient first. Su Qinghen also became professional at this time. She didn't put down her backpack and followed the nurse to the 2nd floor. Because of the power outage, the building was very dark. Even if candles were lit, it could only be said to be unsatisfactory. This is the room. The young nurse took the two to the innermost room on the 2nd floor. This ward should be the largest on the 2nd floor. There are 6 beds in it, but only 1 bed is occupied at this time. The person lying on the bed is obviously injured. The person who is taking care of him is a middle-aged woman. She is wearing a white coat and is preparing medicine with a frown on her face. It is obvious that she has encountered difficulties. Dr. Luo, Uncle G has found a doctor. There are other doctors? That's great. The middle-aged woman put down the medicine bottle in her hand and breathed a sigh of relief, but when she turned around and saw Su Qinghen, she frowned again. Obviously, Su Qinghen's young and beautiful image has nothing to do with being a doctor. Even if she is said to be a doctor, it is difficult for people to believe her art. Are you really a doctor? Chapter 370, Yizin. Hello, Dr. Luo. I'm not a doctor, but my mother is a doctor, and I know a little bit of medical skills. Su Qinghen had a shy smile on his face, and he looked very likable, but this kind of life-saving thing is not something that can be joked about. The doctor surnamed Luo frowned and wanted to refuse reflexively, but was stopped by Luo's words. Dr. Luo, you can't cure this person. Why don't you let others try? If you drag it on like this, the person will definitely not be saved. Why not let my girlfriend try? Okay, you guys try it. My name is Luo. Just call me by my name. Luo glanced at Luo and Su Qinghen's faces, and seeing the confident expressions of the two, she moved the candlelight beside her, so that the two could see the patient on the bed clearly. It was a girl who looked just 20 years old. Most children of this age were in college, and they had a strong bookish aura. But this girl gave people a feeling of being a little serious. Even in a coma, she still had a tight face, and looked very difficult to get along with. Her name is Yizin. She's a police officer, right? Luo introduced the identity of the injured person to Luo and the others, probably to remind them that this person was not an ordinary person, and they would be held responsible if they killed her. She ran to the mountains before, and was attacked by some animal. She had a huge claw-shaped wound on her body, and it seemed that she was poisoned. Luo had treated the wound of this injured person named Yizin before, but judging from the blood color of the bandage, the situation was very worrying. The open wounds are mainly on the flanks and abdomen, but these external injuries are not the difficulty in treatment. The difficulty lies in the fact that the poison is attached to the wound and is difficult to remove, and even scraping the flesh can't solve it. While Luo was explaining the situation, she turned her head and looked at Su Qinghen. After confirming that she had no intention of giving in or regretting, Luo picked up the scissors and cut the bandage on the girl's abdomen, revealing her difficult to heal wound. It must be said that describing with words and seeing it in person are completely two different concepts. Su Qinghen and Luo stood in front of the bed, observing the huge wound up close, and their scalps were really numb. The wounds on Yizin's body were obvious claw-shaped wounds. There were 4 of them, from the girl's left rib to her right waist. The wounds were so deep that the bones could be seen. This serious trauma was not the most troublesome problem. The real trouble was that there was a grey-black smoke lingering on the wound that tore the skin and flesh. This smoke continued to penetrate into the flesh and blood, which not only prevented the wound from recovering, but also caused greater bleeding. To be honest, if this kind of trauma was placed on an ordinary person, it would be a direct death, and first aid would be useless. However, Yizin was obviously an evolver. The emerald green source power flowed in her internal organs and bones, constantly resisting the corrosion of the grey-black smoke. Although it did not relieve the injury, it prevented the injury from worsening. However, the problem of blood loss was not solved at all. Although the speed was not fast, if the bleeding continued like this, the person would definitely die in the end. The problem that Luo encountered now was that she could not get rid of the grey-black smoke and restore Yizin's self-healing ability. The second problem was that she could not stop the bleeding, no matter what medicine or method she used. She was poisoned by a very special poison. Su Qinghen moved closer to the bed, carefully observed the wound, and finally came to a conclusion. Do you have a solution? Luo heard the relaxed tone of Su Qinghen's voice. She turned her head and was about to say something, but Su Qinghen raised his hand to stop her. Dr. Luo, I can treat this injury. It's not difficult. Su Qinghen threw his backpack to the ground and stood directly in front of the bed without caring about his wet clothes. However, Dr. Luo, Village Chief G, Nurse Qiu, you are not suitable to stay here. My boyfriend and I will stay here. You can come in about half an hour. Su Qinghen's tone was direct and unquestionable. She picked up the rubber gloves next to her, put them on her hands very skillfully, and began to study the wound. Half an hour. Okay. Luo glanced at Su Qinghen, then glanced at Luo, and did not waste time asking more questions. Instead, she directly pulled the young nurse and the old village chief out of the room. Luo stood beside Su Qinghen, put down his school bag, and took out a towel from the bag. He first wiped Su Qinghen's cheeks and hair, and then began to deal with the water on his own face and hair. Qinghen, how is the injury on this person? Is he okay? It's not a big problem. After all, he is an evolver, and his body is still strong enough. Su Qinghen stretched out her sleeves to Luo, motioning him to roll them up for her. Luo understood what she meant without saying a word, rolled up her sleeves, and took out a rubber band to tie a neat ponytail for her. Luo, your ponytail tying technique is not bad. Have you practiced it? I practiced it by cutting leeks. GLUO's answer was also very outrageous. Sukinghan just smiled and didn't ask further. GLUO took off his wet coat and then walked over. This Lee Jin should be the remaining operator of the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau. I guess so. With her age and muscle lines, she doesn't look like she comes from an ordinary family. Sukinghan pressed her hand on Lee Jin's body and confirmed her identity. GLUO nodded, looked around, walked around the bed, and walked to the opposite side of Sukinghan so as not to block the sunlight. Her injury was left by the wild soul. What level is it? Well, look at the source power left on the wound. Gray-black. Soul source power. It must be the wild soul. Sukinghan did not treat Lee Jin's injury immediately, but took out tweezers and a knife and carefully examined the condition of the wound. Preliminary estimation, the one fighting with her was a great wild soul of the second black iron level. In the end, she should have won. But it can only be said that she exchanged injuries for lives. The wild soul died, but she was also seriously injured. Sukinghan seemed to know that GLUO was more interested in this, so she also specifically told GLUO about the characteristics of the wild soul and some basic common sense when fighting with them. When the soul power of the wild soul hurts humans, it is not just a simple physical injury. It is like a malicious toxin that corrodes the human body and hurts the human soul. And this kind of injury cannot be recovered by ordinary people. It is extremely difficult to heal, and usually they can't last until that time. What if it is an evolver? GLUO now realized that it should be a piece of cake for Sukinghan to heal Lee Jin, but she didn't want others to notice her specialness, so she deliberately asked for half an hour. At the same time, she could also teach GLUO. Chapter 371, Small Classroom. If the evolver is injured by the wild soul, the situation will be very complicated. Although Sukinghan's clothes were wet at this time, she was not interested in changing clothes. She just used tweezers to pry open Lee Jin's wound and let GLUO see the internal organs. To be honest, Sukinghan's experienced technique made GLUO feel a little scalp numb. Now the power is out in the room, and the lighting effect of the candlelight is very poor. It should be difficult to see the internal organs through the wound. But, the source power of the bronze level evolver flows between the internal organs and bones, and the brilliant color of the source power is even clearer in the dark. See, this is the situation of the bronze level evolver who was injured. Their flesh and soul have no resistance to the soul source power of the wild soul. So the flesh and blood will be corroded, difficult to heal, and even gradually deteriorate. At the same time, the damage to the soul can easily make them fall into coma and nightmares. After letting GLUO see the situation clearly, Sukinghan stopped prying open Lee Jin's wound, and GLUO secretly breathed a sigh of relief. To be honest, although GLUO also knew that Lee Jin fell into a deep sleep due to the damage to her soul, if she woke up and saw Sukinghan's actions at this time, she would probably try to kill her immediately. Don't blame her. After all, no one can stand a cut on the abdomen, and someone uses tweezers to pry open the wound and look inside, and strives to see clearly and thoroughly. However, even for a bronze level evolver, his internal organs and bones with source power flowing can resist this kind of corrosive damage. GLUO, do you remember what I said to you? That only source power can fight against source power. That's right. GLUO, you must remember that in this world, only source power can fight against source power. Sukinghan repeated his previous words again, in order to make GLUO pay enough attention to this point. GLUO nodded, indicating that he remembered it. Kinghan, I remember you said before that the body of the wild soul is made of soul matter that is highly condensed from soul source power, mixed with other impurities. So in other words, because the body of the wild soul itself represents highly condensed source power, the damage caused by its claws will directly add damage and negative effects to the soul source power. Kichudi once told me about the soul source power. She said that this is the most mysterious source power attribute so far. No other creature has it except the wild soul. On the other hand, soul source power is actually only possessed by dead things, right? GLUO did not undergo systematic training. He just received all kinds of miscellaneous information, and then came up with his own answer after self-analysis and cognition. Sukinghan heard GLUO's answer, and nodded with satisfaction. Now that the source power has only been born for 10 years, no one knows the essence of the source power, and everyone can only grope. GLUO, there are 10 properties of source power that have been discovered. Among them, only wild souls can possess soul source power, that is, the evolvers among humans and the wild beasts among wild beasts, all of which possess one of the 9 properties. Is there anyone who can possess 2 properties at the same time? No, never. Sukinghan answered this question quite decisively, so decisively that GLUO was a little suspicious whether his idea was not right. Kinghan, do you still remember the Izumo sisters? Izumo sisters, of course I remember. Izumo ZHI and Izumo Yun. Sukinghan was still confused at first. Why did GLUO mention those 2 girls who had no source power? But she quickly recalled that GLUO once said, those 2 girls, after holding hands, can activate their original talents and turn into a two-headed wolf. One head of the two-headed wolf is the wind attribute source power, and the other head is the thunder attribute source power. Their words are two-headed wolves, with 2 heads and 2 souls. Sukinghan became more and more determined as she spoke, and the answer she got in the end surprised herself. Could it be that the source power attribute of human beings is not only related to the human body, but also to the human soul? Because humans have only one soul, and souls have only one attribute, so the source power of humans will eventually manifest only one attribute? That makes sense. GLUO didn't think as deeply as Sukinghan did. He only needed to remember this information now. When he knew more in the future, he would have his own theories and answers sooner or later. Kinghan, go on, talk about source power. Yes, as I said just now, only source power can fight against source power. So when the soul source power of the wild soul invades the human body, the flesh and blood without the source power will have a miserable result. But the bones and internal organs with the source power flowing can directly consume it to achieve a protective effect. Sukinghan had put down the knife and tweezers at this time. When she raised her head, a ray of ice blue source power floated in front of her, like a dim lamp. Source power is a very magical energy. Its existence has overturned many of the fundamental principles and rules that humans rely on for survival, and can even be said to reshape human cognition of the world. Sukinghan wiped the source power of his fingertips downwards. The ice attributed source power lowered the temperature around him, but the effect it produced was also very obvious. The soul source power that was entrenched around Lee Sin's wound was instantly extinguished by the frost blue source power, just like water extinguishing a fire. What's even more magical is that, although the temperature of the frost source power is very low, Lee Sin did not suffer any harm, and has recovered his normal flesh and blood without any frostbite. GLUO, what did you find? The effect of source power can be changed and controlled? GLUO was really curious about Sukinghan's source power. When GLUO was at the bronze level he couldn't see his source power at all, and he couldn't study it. However, when GLUO became the black iron level 2nd, and the source power could flow on the surface of his body, GLUO suddenly discovered that his source power was purple blue. GLUO had never seen this color of source power before, except for himself. When he asked Kichudi, she also answered that she had never seen it. Purple source power is of thunder attribute, light blue source power is of ice attribute, and dark blue source power is of water attribute. But GLUO's purple blue has nothing to do with these 3 attributes. To put it bluntly, GLUO didn't know what attribute his source power was, but it must be very special. It might even be special to the point of being unique. This was also a secret of GLUO, so he was paying more and more attention to this point, trying not to let others discover his abnormality. Anyway, GLUO studied it himself, but he didn't know the characteristics of his source power. He had nothing to do with the 10 source power attributes that humans had discovered so far. If we talk about the characteristics, it is that GLUO's purple blue source power has very great destructive power. The external manifestation is annihilation, disappearance, destruction, complete erasure. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372, Characteristics of Source Power. To put it bluntly, GLUO source power and abilities are all added to damage, and there is no special effect other than that. You know, Sukinghan's frost source power comes with a freezing and cold effect. Kichuda's natural source power comes with a resuscitation and growth effect. Furthermore, the storm source power can make people faster, and the thunder source power can make people attack more fiercely. Anyway, each source power has its own special effects, but GLUO's inexplicable attribute has no martial ethics at all. It just annihilates everything. GLUO, this is the special thing about the source power. I don't know the specific proof method, but the conclusion is very simple. Humans control the source power by relying on mental power, but the reason why the source power is controlled is because of the human soul. Sukinghan had already dispelled the remaining soul source power on Yi Xin's wound at this time. She searched around and found medical needles and thread and began to sew up Yi Xin's wound. Source power is born from life and manifests itself as the power of the soul. Its essence is the fusion of soul power and life power. The process of creating source power is to burn the life and soul of a living being at the same time, transforming, integrating, and sublimating. And source power will continue to nourish living beings, allowing their life and soul to become stronger and stronger, and continue to grow. Stronger life and soul will produce more powerful source power, and the two will promote each other and spiral upward, allowing living beings to move to a higher level of life. A person's source power itself contains the power of his soul, so he can control his own source power, and therefore, this control cannot be deprived. Therefore, as long as the evolver has the intention to attack when using the source power, the fierce side of the source power will be revealed. On the contrary, it is a peaceful energy. These things that Sukinghan said to GLUO were all the first time GLUO heard them. He listened very carefully and memorized every word. Of course, when Kichudi was chatting with him, she certainly didn't hide these things from him, but Kichudi probably didn't expect that GLUO, who was an evolver 10 years ago, would be so ignorant and didn't know such basic information. Fortunately, at this coincidental moment today, Sukinghan told GLUO this knowledge. It doesn't seem to have any effect now, but if GLUO wants to take a step forward in the future, this knowledge is the foundation. Kinghan, can the source force be used for disinfection? You just start stitching. GLUO didn't dare to watch the scene of stitching anyway. To be honest, it was a bit creepy too, so human flesh together like clothes. Of course, the source force is a pure existence. It will exclude anything else. Viruses, bacteria, toxins and other things will be eliminated by it indiscriminately. It is also for this reason that evolvers are not easy to get sick. Although Sukinghan's movements seemed unhurried, they were actually clean and neat. In less than 2 minutes, the wounds on Yi Xin's body had been perfectly stitched together by her, killing bacteria and reducing inflammation. The source power is simply omnipotent. GLUO now feels very magical. Why did the energy of the source power decline on the earth? And why is it revived now? What happened 10 years ago? GLUO, hand me the bottle of medicine. Oh. GLUO retracted his thoughts and handed the bottle of powder to Sukinghan. Then, Sukinghan mixed several medicines and applied them to Yi Xin's body and then wrapped her with a brand new bandage. Kinghan, when can she wake up? This is difficult to estimate. The trauma of ordinary people in the soul is almost impossible to heal by themselves and must rely on external means. But the evolver has the ability to recover by itself in the soul, but the speed of this recovery depends on the individual. Sukinghan put his fingers on Yi Xin's wrist, felt Yi Xin's body in the form of taking her pulse, and then turned over her eyelids to check the condition of her eyes. It's okay, the damage caused by the wild soul to her is not serious. It is estimated that she will wake up in 2 or 3 days. If you want to get any information from her, it will take 2 or 3 days. GLUO rubbed his dog head. His mood did not get better as Yi Xin passed the dangerous period. At this time, Maoan village can be said to be in danger. In order to solve this situation, we must fully understand the full picture of the crisis. What Yi Xin investigated must be very useful. It will take 2 or 3 days from her, but it may not be so slow from other places. Sukinghan raised his head, his eyes lingered on the heavy rain outside the window, and then turned to look at Gluo. Kinghan, based on the analysis of Lee Sin's wounds, how strong is the wild soul we are facing? How strong? Generally speaking, a wild soul can drive its own kind to levels lower than itself or below. The wild soul that injured Lee Sin is only at the level of 2nd Black Iron rank. To be able to drive a wild soul of this rank, we are facing at least a 4th silver rank great wild soul. Of course, a V sub gold rank domain wild soul is also possible. Sukinghan felt that he had almost finished explaining everything to Gluo, so he looked down at his watch. It didn't actually take too much time to treat Lee Sin, but the two of them just chatted and wasted all the time. Gluo, instead of just guessing like this, I think asking the people outside the door might be a better idea. Of course, but we have to have an idea in mind, in case they say something too outrageous. Gluo winked at Sukinghan, then went to open the door. In the corridor on the 2nd floor, the old village chief and 3 others were waiting anxiously. When they saw Gluo, they immediately surrounded him. How is the patient? Luo is really worthy of being a doctor. She is most worried about the patient's condition. After seeing Gluo nod, Luo rushed into the room in a hurry to check on Lee Sin's condition. Gluo did not expect Luo to be so excited. He raised his eyebrows. Kyuko, who was just entering the room, knew that he was confused, so she explained to him in a low voice. Lee Sin saved Dr. Luo's life 2 days ago. Now it's Lee Sin's turn to be injured. Dr. Luo really wants to save her. Is that so? Gluo smiled and nodded, pulling the door wide open, allowing the village chief and Kyuko to walk into the house. At this time, Luo had already confirmed Lee Sin's injuries. She seemed to be relieved and sat down on the chair weakly. Of course, Luo did not open the gauze to see Lee Sin's wound. She just checked it neatly and knew that Sukinghan's treatment was effective. Thank you for your help. Luo bowed deeply to Sukinghan. Sukinghan wanted to stop her but failed. She was really a straightforward person. You're welcome. Sukinghan didn't hesitate. After accepting Luo thanks, she and Gluo asked for a room each and changed her wet clothes. Chapter 373, Missing. When Gluo and Sukinghan changed their clothes and returned to the room, only the old village chief surnamed G was sitting there, looking quite tired. Nizzy, young man, please sit down. Dr. Luo and Nurse Qiu have gone to cook noodles. It's dark and there's no electricity. We can't do anything good. We can only make do. It's okay. We are not that squeamish. Gluo sat on the chair without hesitation. The old village chief stood up to pour water for the two of them, but was pushed back to his seat by Gluo. After saving people, the old village chief's attitude towards the two became better. Gluo did not ask rash questions, but pretended to chat and asked some indirect questions. At this time, Gluo knew that the old village chief was called Jiego. The key Datao mentioned in the car before was the village secretary and a warm-hearted person, but he was a bit stingy. The old village chief's wife passed away early. For so many years, he has been raising 4 children alone, 3 boys and a girl. Now, the 4 children have all started families. The 2 boys have gone to the south to do business, and the daughter has also married in the city. In the end, the only one who was by his side was his youngest son. The youngest son and daughter are 8 years old this year. They are also miserable children. They lost their mother last year. What a sin. At this point, the old man really couldn't hold it anymore. His voice was choked, and tears were streaming down his face. Gluo and Sukinghan looked at each other and stopped the topic. Although he didn't ask specifically, Gluo estimated that something must have happened to the old man's youngest son, and his granddaughter might be gone. Fortunately, this awkward atmosphere did not last too long. Luo and Kyuko quickly carried the basin upstairs. Each of the 5 people had a large bowl, and there was still a lot left after filling it up. Gluo, eat more, the rest is yours, and if it's not enough, go cook it. Kyuko's personality is a little more outgoing. After getting to know Gluo, she opened up her chatterbox. She enthusiastically carried the basin, picked up another chopstick for Sukinghan, and gave the rest to Gluo. Thank you, I've had enough, really enough. Gluo couldn't stand Kyukao's enthusiasm. He looked at Su Kinghan in embarrassment, wanting her to help him out. Who knew that the girl just held the noodles and ate them fiercely, laughing while eating, as if Gluo's embarrassment could be a dish. The old village chief couldn't help laughing when he saw Gluo and Su Kinghan flirting with each other. The old man's clothes were actually very wet, but he didn't mean to change them, and he didn't seem to care about this discomfort. The 5 people held large bowls and chatted while eating noodles under the candlelight. After the previous test, Gluo had already had a bottom line in his heart, so he asked about the situation in the village. Kyukao, who had been talking a lot before, ate a big mouthful of noodles at this time. Her eyes widened, and she looked like she was choked. But she quickly swallowed the noodles, turned her head to look at the old village chief, sighed secretly, stopped talking, and just kept eating noodles. Luo Fizin had long thought that Gluo would ask this. She also looked at the old village chief, hesitated for a moment, but still spoke. Listening to the villagers' information on the spot is much more vivid than reading the materials, but although the villagers were in the middle of the incident, they have been living their own lives. Before the incident developed, no one noticed it, let alone investigated. The time of the incident in the village was specifically at the end of the previous month, 41 days ago. On that day, a little girl in the village went to the mountain to cut grass for pigs, but she went there in the morning and did not come back until the evening. The villagers felt that something was wrong, so they went to find her together, but they searched for most of the night and did not see anyone. They went to find her the next day, but there was no result. Now it seems that the little girl has obviously been killed, and the body cannot be found. After all, everyone has to live, and later called the police. The police searched for several days, but there was no result, so they had to give up. But no one expected that when looking for the little girl, a villager named Wei Cheng picked up a piece of ancient jade. Wei Cheng usually likes to figure things out in the village. He can't be said to be idle, but he definitely doesn't like to work. In the first few days, he was so happy every day, just like he had encountered something good. When others asked him what happened, he didn't say anything, just laughed. Later, Wei Cheng went to the city, and when he came back, he wanted to jump up and touch the roof. Getting rich was certain, and he was not the kind of person who hid his wealth. He bought a new mobile phone, changed his whole body, and bought a massage chair for his parents, which was obviously high-end. When others asked him where the money came from, he said that he had made money recently by speculating in stocks online. When others asked him how he did it, he just said the channel, but refused to say what stocks he bought. But at that time, Wei Cheng went into the mountains every day and stayed there all day, carrying a basket, saying that he was collecting mountain delicacies, but in fact, the daily harvest was very few, but he was happy to do it. I remember it very clearly. One night, it was already dark when he came back from the mountain. He didn't find anything, but he just smiled, and smiled happily. He obviously hurt his knee and walked with a limp, but he was just happy. After treating the wound, he threw me 50 yuan and didn't even want the change. Luo Fizin remembered it very clearly, so she described it very carefully. Gluo just listened and didn't say anything. Instead, Su Kinghan asked a few questions, and Luo Fizin answered them very seriously. After Wei Cheng was injured that day, he stayed at home for 2 days. When his knee was almost healed, he ran to start a business again. This time when he came back, he bought a very beautiful motorcycle. He told everyone that he would continue to work hard in stock trading and wait to buy a 4-wheeled car. However, the next day, after buying the car, Wei Cheng went into the mountains again and never came out again. Another person was missing, and the village was of course anxious. After calling the police followed the route Wei Cheng took to the city to investigate. Only then did they know that Wei Cheng sold an ancient jade and a fine jade hairpin to an antique shop. Then, the whole thing was analyzed, because there was a rumor in the village earlier that there was an ancient tomb in the mountain, and everything was clear. Just like the little girl last time, the police investigation did not get any results. Wei Cheng disappeared without a trace, and he was not seen alive or dead. So, during that time, there was a rumor in the village that Wei Cheng found the location of the ancient tomb, and he died in the ancient tomb, among a pile of treasures. This news made the village boil. Many people started to search in the mountains under the guise of looking for someone, and even many people who had worked outside before came back specifically to find treasures. After all, the 2 pieces of jade sold by Wei Cheng are really too valuable, which makes people jealous. But unfortunately, although the people in the village searched several nearby mountains, they did not find the hidden tomb. Many people suspected that there was a secret passage, but they did not get any answers after searching for a long time. As the days went by, everyone still liked to go up the mountain to find treasures in their spare time, but they were not as enthusiastic as before. After all, the disappearance of 2 people was still vivid in their minds. Chapter 374, Veins. However, everyone thought the situation was too simple. Just as the trend of finding ancient tombs gradually faded, the livestock in the village began to die. At first, it was chickens and ducks, then pigs and dogs, and finally cattle and horses. These livestock died tragically at night, and died silently, and without any signs. What's more terrifying is that there are huge claw marks on the bodies of livestock, which are hideous wounds that no known animal can do. And the weird thing is that the blood of the livestock is black. The corpses have a smell of corruption after only one night. The meat is no longer edible. Even if it is cooked until soft, it tastes like eating paper and has no taste. This weird situation quickly alarmed the people above, and 2 operators were sent down, 1 man and 1 woman, both of whom looked very young. In the next 3 days, the 2 searched the village and the mountains, but did not find any abnormal traces. But with them around, the livestock did not die again. Just when everyone was relieved, the male agent disappeared strangely. No one knew when and why. Anyway, the room was the same as usual. The quilt was still messy, but the man was gone. Yixin is a kind and righteous child. Yesterday, he persuaded all of us in the village to go to the city, but the car we called had an accident halfway. Luo Fisan's words at this time solved Luo's doubts. He was still wondering why the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau did not immediately transfer the people in this village. It turned out that they tried, but failed. However, the 19th Bureau of the National Security Bureau also reacted quickly. If Luo had not been replaced halfway, Kichudi would have taken a plane directly and would have arrived yesterday. But because of Jiang and Liu's request, Kichudi went to Changlin City halfway, and Luo and the others also took some time to rush over, which made the situation look very dangerous. Yesterday at noon, the vehicle we were supposed to pick up had an accident, and then the communication was cut off. Yizin was impatient and wanted to drive to the city to inform the police. As a result, she had not walked far when the accident happened. Fortunately, Village Chief Ji was paying attention at the time and rescued her immediately. Luo Fisan did not explain the matter in too much detail, but in many places, Luo was able to sort it out by combining the known information. However, the details still need to be known by the parties involved. Village Chief Ji, did you see what kind of monster attacked Yizin at that time? Alas, I was too far away at the time and could not see clearly. The monster was probably 3 or 4 meters tall and as strong as a gorilla. It jumped out of the forest and overturned the car driven by Yizin in an instant. The old village chief's description ability was not very strong. Although he tried his best to gesture, people who had not seen the wild soul would definitely not understand. But Luo and Su Qinghan understood it very well. Then what? Yizin fought with the monster? Yes. Yizin also reacted quickly. She jumped out of the car, and then she ran while fighting. I couldn't see what happened next. But later, I called 2 young men to go look for her with me, and we found Yizin under a tree. In the eyes of the old village chief, it was a miracle that Yizin was not dead after such serious injuries. But later on, there was no cure. If Su Qinghan hadn't lent a hand, Yizin would have died. Old village chief, have you ever seen the same kind of monster? No, I haven't seen any others, only that monster. Then after Yizin was rescued, did anything else happen in the village? No, since Yizin and her companions came, the village has been fine, and the livestock haven't died anymore. The old village chief obviously remembered all of this and answered very confidently. Gluo scratched his hair, feeling a little unsure of the situation. Normally, if a wild soul of at least 4th silver rank wanted to eat, then no one in the entire Maoan village would survive and would be wiped out. However, it was very strange that the wild soul had no intention of slaughtering, but only designed to keep people from outside coming into the village. Village Chief G, how many people are there in the village from outside now? There are 3 buses of people in total. The first bus was not full, but the ones after that were full. I estimate about 120 to 30 people. 3 waves of people. Gluo estimated. With the speed at which such people gathered, I'm afraid that the people at the antique shop had already started spreading the news 2 or 3 days ago. Now there is no signal or electricity in the village, and the only way out has been blocked. It feels like catching a turtle in a jar. Well, more than 120 lively delicacies are already on the plate, and there is no way to run away. The next step is to start cutting with a knife and fork, and then put the meat into your mouth. Village Chief G, where are all these outsiders arranged? Gluo didn't know how many evolvers had sneaked into the village, but it was certain that these 120 to 30 outsiders were all troublesome with some ability. Everyone in the village has gone out to work, and there are many empty rooms. We have divided them into points from house to house and arranged them all. In this situation, more people is a good thing. Indeed, there is strength in numbers. Gluo now has a general understanding of the situation. The villagers are in a relatively stable mood because there are no casualties overall. Most of the outsiders are here for the ancient tomb. They all want money, but not their lives. They haven't taken action yet. I guess they are all eager to try. No one is really afraid of death. At this time, Sukinghan just listened quietly beside him, without making any comments or asking any questions, highlighting a leisurely and quiet appearance. Gluo ate half a bowl of noodles, and when he looked up, he found that Sukinghan had already eaten all the noodles in the bowl. Kinghan, I'm not very hungry. I'll give you some noodles. Gluo was indeed not very hungry now. He wanted to give some noodles to Sukinghan, but she refused. Sukinghan finished the noodles, wiped her mouth with a tissue, and actually took out a piece of paper, writing and drawing, sorting out the whole context of the matter, and even specially marked the time. Village Chief G, Dr. Luo, Nurse Qiu, you 3 have a look. Is there anything wrong? After Sukinghan sorted out this context, the matter became very clear. The old village chief and the other 2 looked around, corrected 1 or 2 minor mistakes, and then ended it. Gluo, what did you find out? Sukinghan handed the paper in his hand to Gluo, with a smile on his face that showed that he had received the information. Gluo scratched his head, wondering if his brain was not working well. Obviously, the information known by the 2 people was equal. Why did Sukinghan look so confident? I didn't see anything. Gluo stared at the paper in his hand for a long time, but didn't find any useful information. Sukinghan no longer concealed it and told Gluo directly. That wild soul is growing, and it's growing rapidly. Chapter 375, Clues. That wild soul is growing rapidly? Gluo was honest. He really couldn't tell the growth trajectory of the wild soul. Combining all the known information, the first person to die was the little girl's father, but it wasn't that long ago, just a few months ago. After the little girl's father died, his body was found, but there was no news after that, and there were no clues. What do you think the monster is called? Wild soul? The old village chief didn't expect that Sukinghan would directly say the name of the monster. He looked at Gluo and Sukinghan carefully, and thinking about what happened just now, he couldn't help but look at Gluo and the others in surprise. That's right, old village chief. That kind of monster is called wild soul, a kind of monster that eats human souls. You can imagine it as a demon with a physical body. At this time, Sukinghan told ordinary people these secrets without any scruples. She even pointed to Yizin on the bed and told the 3 the biggest secret of this trip. We 2 are actually from the same department as Yizin. Our job is to deal with monsters like the wild soul. A few days ago, we received a call for help from Yizin and rushed here immediately. Unfortunately, we were delayed on the way and wasted a lot of time. Please rest assured. GLUO and I are both professionals. We can definitely kill this monster that is causing trouble in the village and avenge the dead and Lee Sin. Su King-hun's words were a bit general at this time, but the order of the context was correct. It's just that many details were erased by her and replaced with useful information. However, although Su King-hun had some thoughts in her words, her tone was decisive and her momentum was very strong. Qiu Kaio on the other side was very happy to hear this, and her eyes were shining with admiration. Although Luo Fisen didn't say anything, she was relieved. Only the old village chief smiled a little reluctantly at this time. It seemed that he didn't have any hope for Luo and the others. He looked at the young and energetic Su King-hun with a hint of worry in his eyes. Nizzy, young man, don't try to be brave. Pay attention to safety. Staying alive is the most important thing. Uncle G, don't worry, we have a plan. Luo also showed a confident look at this time. He didn't expect that Su King-hun would tell others about his background as soon as he met someone. The problem is not a big problem, but their plan to hide among the people is afraid that it will fail. It's not that they're afraid that the three of the old village chief will leak information to others. The key is that the three of them know their background. Even if they want to hide it, there will always be some changes in their actions and tone, which is easy for people to see the clues. However, this is also good. At least, these two young people who look unreliable can get help and attention from the three of them who know the inside story. Darn. Just when Luo wanted to ask about the missing little girl and her dead father, the door of the health center was suddenly knocked. The visitor seemed a little anxious and knocked very loudly. Village chief, it's bad. Something happened at Old Wu's house. The rainstorm outside still showed no sign of stopping. The people who came could only shout at the top of their lungs and shine a flashlight into the house. Luo and others on the second floor also reacted quickly. The old village chief ran downstairs with a flashlight. Luo and Su King-hun looked at each other and followed him downstairs. Dr. Luo, Nurse Qiu, Lee Sin still needs someone to take care of her. You don't need to go out. Wait here. Su King-hun didn't walk as fast as Luo. She could lag behind a few steps and chatted with Dr. Luo in a low voice. On Luo's side, he and the village chief ran downstairs and hurriedly opened the door to let the panting people outside into the house. Ki Datao, don't be anxious. Take a breath first. What happened? The old village chief obviously had a lot of prestige in the village. While asking questions, he put on a dark raincoat and prepared to set off. Village chief, something happened at Old Wu's house. 2 outsiders fought and 1 died. What? Outsiders fought? Are the people in our village okay? The old village chief was obviously protecting his own people. The first thing he thought of was his own people. The village secretary surnamed Ki had already taken a breath and shook his head vigorously. No, the people in our village are okay. Old Wu ran fast and was not injured. But the 2 people who fought, one died and the other was seriously injured. Let's go and take a look. The old village chief had already prepared his clothes and walked out immediately. Luo also picked up an umbrella and wanted to follow him, but Su King-hun didn't know what she was doing upstairs. They were obviously going downstairs together, but she hadn't come down yet. What are you doing again? Luo felt a little helpless. Su King-hun was really childish. She told him on the train that they would compete to see who could solve the incident first, but she was so serious. She found the clues, but didn't tell him, and quietly questioned Dr. Luo. You have some idea about me? Who? What do you have in mind for you? Su King-hun just walked downstairs at this time. Luo looked up at her with a half smile. Su King-hun rolled her eyes and shook the flashlight in her hand. Luo, you don't want to take the flashlight. Do you want to go out in the dark? I don't want to go out in the dark, but someone doesn't want to go with me. Luo opened the door at this time and put half of the umbrella outside the door to block the rain falling from the edge of the door. Su King-hun came over with her own umbrella, put the hand holding the flashlight into Luo's palm, and walked into the rain with him. This dress, it's a waste. Luo and Su King-hun held hands, shoulder to shoulder, and the umbrellas were slightly overlapped. If they were walking like this in a light rain, it would definitely be very romantic, but it's a pity that the 2 of them walked like this in a rainstorm, just like fools. What can we do? If we want to blame someone, we should blame the wild spirit that caused the trouble. Sukinghan held the flashlight in her hand, and GLUO, the LSP, was holding her hand and shaking it in a weird way, making the flashlight move back and forth randomly, and it was impossible to illuminate the road properly. GLUO, what are you doing? Look at the road carefully. Sukinghan, what conspiracy are you up to? I didn't expose you just now. Most of what you said to the three of them were lies. GLUO was also a little depressed. He didn't feel that his IQ was much lower than Sukinghan's. Why didn't he see anything? The information presented was very obvious. That is, there was a high-level wild spirit causing trouble around the village, and they just wanted to catch the wild spirit and kill it. Why did Sukinghan come up with a bunch of mysterious and shameful information? Haha, not only did I lie to them, I also kept it a secret. Yizin killed a level 2nd Black Iron Wild Soul. Guess why I didn't tell them? Sukinghan showed a very hateful smile, obviously confident of winning. GLUO gritted his teeth, and the smile on his face became evil. Sukinghan, guess whether I should guess or not. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.